Thanks to everyone. We are just about to begin both the inaugural part as well as the leadership summit, which is an inherent component of GANGA Anesthesia refresher course since its inception in 2015. We will begin today's session by invoking the blessings of Almighty. And thanks to everyone. I request Dr. Chintana Patka, practicing anesthesiologist from Mysore, to invoke the blessings of Almighty on all our behalf in a dance form.
Okay, second audio mic, and play.
शिवनन्दन शङ्ख सहजा विनाशक गुणगण पूजित वीर सुरवन्दित पूजित शिवनन्दन शङ्ख सहजा विनाशक गुणगण पूजित वीर सुरवन्दित पूजित परिवारण अनन्तानन्द सर्ववरप्रद पर्वतनन्दिनि नन्दन सुन्दर गणेश्वरा परिवारण अनन्तानन्द सर्ववरप्रद पर्वतनन्दिनि नन्दन सुन्दर गणेश्वरा पशुपति नन्दन परम पवित्र शिववाहन सहजा गणनायक त्र्यंबक दण्डक मंगलमूर्ति पशुपति नन्दन परम पवित्र शिववाहन सहजा गणनायक त्र्यंबक दण्डक मंगलमूर्ति
Thank you very much, Dr. Chintana. She said she went into Bharatanatyam after a gap of several years and she wanted to prove herself that she can perform. And since its inception of Garc, Dr. Chintana has been regularly performing. Thank you so much for the very graceful and the divine dance. On behalf of the founder and the chairman of GANGA Hospital, the senior most anesthesiologist of this city, a person who inspires us even at this stage where he continues to evince interest to do new things, Dr. J.G. Shanmuganathan, the person behind this hospital as a force, the managing director, Madam Kanagavalli Shanmuganathan, and on behalf of the chairman of Department of Plastic, Microvascular and Reconstructive Surgery and director of the hospital, Dr. S. Rajasabhapati sir, and on behalf of the chairman and director of the Department of Orthopedics and Spine Surgery, Professor Dr. Rajshekharan sir, the board of directors, Madam Nirmala Raj Sabhapati and Madam Rama Rajshekharan, and the extended family, the Department of Orthopedics, Plastic Surgery and Anesthesia, we wholeheartedly welcome each one of you for this getting all the positive minds under one roof. Learn from me and continue to make sure that every single patient whom we anesthetize has a perioperative journey that is comfortable and safe. We started this in the year 2015, and except for 1 year when the COVID was there, it was done virtually. But it gave an advantage that when we did virtually, we had in attendance close to 8,400 anesthesiologists from 158 countries. And one of the most important things that we try to do in this course is, apart from academics, we devote 25% of the time for the holistic growth of an anesthesiologist as a vibrant professional who encompasses inside them all the other aspects which is needed apart from being an anesthesiologist. So we have tried to incorporate this in all our programs. And one aspect of this is the Leadership Summit. We thought it's prudent that people who have acclaimed careers come and share their thoughts with the younger minds to imbibe the qualities that are needed to climb up the ladder in the most positive manner. And we are extremely fortunate to have with us today one of the tall leaders of this nation, who has served this nation and Sir Lieutenant General A. Arun, the GOC of Dakshin Bharat area, with us this evening to speak to us on a very interesting topic, the power of one. And he's a great thinker, orator, and I'm sure we are going to imbibe a lot from him. So thank you so much for being with us. Though we know your phenomenal commitments, sincere thanks for being a part of us today, and I'm sure your insights will make us evolve more and better. This conference, additionally, we are extremely happy and delighted to have 21 international faculties from almost all the continents of this world, and people who have acclaimed positions because of their professional skills and because of the leadership. And incidentally, today we had a master class on women leadership challenges and possibilities, where the 7 women leaders from various continents shared their ideas and thoughts on how to evolve in spite of being challenged. And also it's very important we realize that if the younger generations have to be vibrant, we need to have excellent mentors. So in this program, we recognize the mentors who have done phenomenal contribution, and the Distinguished Mentor Awards will be presented today. We also recognize the creativity of anesthesiologists, and tomorrow we'll inaugurate GANGA Art Gallery, where 12 anesthesiologists are going to present their creations. And also the Hall of Fame Award will be presented to people who have established themselves apart from academics on this Saturday. So this is a conglomeration of several facets which are essential to make a person holistic and they completely grow. And that's the aim of this conference. And today, I sincerely thank all the workshop directors. We had 8 workshops. More than 446 delegates participated in the skill stations in the 8 workshops. And I immensely thank all the course directors and the national and the international faculty who came in yesterday, set up their entire workshops and did a wonderful job today. Sincere thanks to all the faculty for inculcating their expertise to the younger generation. It's customary that every inaugural session in the Hindu culture would start with lighting the lamp. May I request our Managing Director, Madam Kanavalli Shanmuganathan, to come forward to light the lamp. And may I request our Chairman to join, Madam. I request the chief guest of this evening, Lieutenant General A. Arun. Sir, please come forward. Sir, please come. I will also join you. Sir, they will join you. I also request Professor Menawa Edwi Kalamak from Philippines, Dr. YK from Malaysia, Dr. Mary Mushambi from UK to join us, and to represent the Indian faculty, I request Professor Dr. K. Balakrishnan, the President of SACA and the past President of Indian Society of Anesthesiologists, and I request Padma Shri Dr. Rajgopal sir to join us for the lamp lighting.
Namaste.
Dr. Jannicke from the past president of the World Federation of Society of Anesthetists from Norway. I have a small job for all of you. Please bend forward. See below your seat. You will see a lamp. Please take it on your hand. So, can I ask all of you to put this in your left hand, switch it on, and may I request all of you to stand? And it's the time as an anesthesiologist to take the pledge. May I request all of you to put your hand, the right hand in the front, and read the pledge as I read it. Oh God, I thank you for helping me become an anesthesiologist. I pledge that I shall strive hard to enrich myself with skill, knowledge, and empathy. I shall work tirelessly to make the perioperative journey of every patient whom I anesthetize pain-free, comfortable, and safe. I will treat every patient with respect. I shall strive every day to make my parents and my country proud. Jai Hind. Now, may I request Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Suresh Babu from RR Hospital to introduce the chief guest of the day, Lieutenant General Arun.
Good evening, everyone. It's an annual ritual for me to come here for Garc conference because I owe a lot to this institution. The center which I work is a center of excellence, the premier armed forces hospital in the country, where many luminaries of the nation visit, and we continue to serve our brave soldiers. Respected revered chairman, directors of this institution, ISA presidents, past, current, and elected, eminent invited speakers from overseas and India, professors from various academia institutions, colleagues, and dear delegates. Leadership is about change and achieving greater results. The biggest difference between a leader and an executive is the kind of perspective they bring to business. Leaders would have a vision that does not only see future, but can also see the tree in the forest. To share this perspective, I have the pleasure to introduce Lieutenant General Arun, Yudh Seva Medal, Sena Medal, Vishisht Seva Medal to this august gathering. An alumnus of the National Defence Academy and opting not to join IIT despite getting a rank of 1-3-13. He is a graduate of the Defence Services Staff College, Bharat in India, Center for Defence and Strategic Studies, Canberra, National Defence College, New Delhi, and also attended the prestigious Senior Mission Leaders course conducted by the United Nations in Geneva. The General Officer carries close to 4 decades of varied experience across diverse challenging roles and had foreign assignments, tenures in Cambodia, Sierra Leone, and United Nations headquarters in New York. A highly decorated officer, a recipient of the Sena Medal for Gallantry, with the Seva Medal for Outstanding Leadership for Conflict, Vishisht Seva Medal for Distinguished Leadership and Meritorious Service, General Officer, awarded the Chief of Army Staff Commendation 4 times, in addition to the North Star Medal for Excellence. Delivers talks extensively on personality development, people, and leadership, which continues to be his passion. Has conducted more than 800 sessions across a variety of audiences across the country. Currently posted as the General Officer Commanding Dakshin Bharat area in Chennai, prior to which he was the Director General Strategic Planning at the Army Headquarters in New Delhi. With this introduction, I kindly request the crew to escort General Arun to the dais to deliver the keynote address.
Would you give up one military seat after ranking 13th in the country to join me? If you're Lieutenant General A. Arun, not only would you absolutely do that, you'd also go on to a luminous career in the Indian Army. The General Officer commanding Dakshin Bharat area, Lieutenant General Arun has about 36 years of varied experience. This includes personnel management and logistics in the international task forces in Cambodia and Sierra Leone, and short-term projects at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Lieutenant General Arun was seriously wounded in operations in Jammu and Kashmir. He is a recipient of the Sena Medal for Gallantry, Yudh Seva Medal for Outstanding Leadership in Conflict, and the Vishisht Seva Medal for Distinguished Leadership and Outstanding Service. He has been awarded the Chief of Army Staff's Commendation 4 times, in addition to the North Star Medal for Excellence. A prolific short story writer, Lieutenant General Arun enjoys listening to music, spending time with the family and pets, and public speaking. He epitomizes his belief: any other place, any other college, any other education may give you a job. The Army will give you a life.
Yes, sir. Right.
Keeper?
Right, yeah.
Now we're on. Oh, I seem to have the wrong presentation. This is on mutual funds. But all doctors obviously need advice on how to manage your finances. So no. So when I was invited to come here and speak with you all, why on earth would you invite a Lieutenant General, a senior army officer, to speak to a group of anesthesiologists? They say the army man's normally brains are in your knees. So this morning I got the answer on the treadmill at the residency where I'm staying. Both Lieutenant Generals and anesthesiologists put people to sleep. Senior army officers do it when they speak. You do it with medicines. Obviously, our skill is greater. We don't even need medication to get people to sleep. All we need to do is to start speaking. Because as we get old, we become senile and say the same things again and again. So that was the similarity. And no, I am not going to speak on mutual funds. That was from my last presentation. But welcome to the session. Thank you very much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. As you would see, I have no script, I have no paper. I don't even know what I'm going to say next. So normally when we wish to embark on a journey or a venture or a project, we start at the beginning. We start with where we are. I have a counter view, but I'm made like this. I have a counter view to most things in life. And the counter view is just this. Why don't we consider beginning at the destination? Why don't we consider seeing where is it that we want anesthesiology as a branch of science to go and work back from there? Why don't we look at our own hospitals or educational institutions and see where do we want to be 25 years from now and start creating products, processes, systems and knowledge to get to that place 25 years from now instead of taking 1 year at a time and going 25 years from now. But that's my view and I could be completely wrong. So this was already shown. I didn't know you will have an AV clip, but that is really me and I really am a serving army officer. That's the uniform I normally wear to work. Normally people will tell you change is constant. Even I am going to tell you that. The change keeps happening all the damn time. But I wonder if change happens all the time. My hairstyle, 25 years. It hasn't changed a bit. When I have a haircut, nobody looks at me and says, did you have a haircut today? Because there is not much to cut anyway. So hairstyle isn't changed, but change does happen, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I am. So this is who you are. I did a little research and this is what I found. I have a question to ask anybody in the audience. Okay, I will explain what Bharosemand means. This last word in Hindi at the bottom of the screen. Bharosemand means for the ladies and gentlemen who don't understand Hindi, it means dependable. It's a variation of trust. Now, dependable has got multiple connotations. Do your people who work for you find you dependable? Does the rest of the operating theatre while you are inside the OT believe you are dependable? Does the system believe you are dependable? Do your vendors and other associates, your insurance workers, your financiers, do they find you dependable? As an anesthetist or an anesthesiologist, sir, do you meet a lot of, where's Dr. Balavenkat? Enachu, speaker gitta ponena? Okay, you fix it. Yeah, that's one thing about in the army. You just tell people fix it and it gets fixed. At least you hope it gets fixed. So, sir, why do anesthesiologists need to have a doctor-like bedside manner? After all, the only time, okay, I have been shot and wounded 5 times. So each time I've gone horizontally into some red lit room like you see in the movies with a swing door and I've come out also. So obviously somebody's done a good job, which is why I'm still walking and talking. But the only time I've seen the anesthesiologist is behind a mask on those glasses and he's telling me either count AB or 1001 and you do 1000 and you're finished. And then you never see the bloke again. I wonder if it's really the anesthesiologist or somebody else. But anesthesiologists are doctors. When we talk of ownership, I was asking, I have on my staff a senior general who's also an anesthesiologist. I have brought him along with me from Chennai to be with you all. I keep having a constant argument with him. So I asked him, who's the most important part of an operation? A medical, surgical operation? So he's a good man, he said surgeon. But you're going to be lynched here if you say surgeon. Yeah? So I asked him then, who spends the longest time? Who comes in when the patient comes in and who leaves when the patient awakens, revives, So he said, sir, the anesthesiologist. I said, simple, that makes you the owner of the damn operation theater as far as I'm concerned. Because if you're responsible to put me at rest, as it were, get operated, fixed, and then revive me, you become a significantly important part of the process. Now, is that the only thing an anesthesiologist does? You do a lot more things. And today, in one of our small hospitals, in a very small way, we have a palliative care center. It's our very small attempt. Now, when we embarked on the journey, we realized that the only doctors who are willing to and capable of running it and manning it efficiently are anesthesiologists. That's a priceless job. So that is what it is. If you can do all this and get people to believe that you will deliver to the best of your ability, we must remember as we go forward in our lives that we are not gods. At the end of it, we can do our best. If that best is forthcoming, this word bharose-mand becomes applicable. If we haven't done our best, it doesn't become applicable. But my question, sir, is this. What are these numbers that you see on the screen? There's 215,000, there's 25,000, there's 28,000, there is 78 and there's 4. Anybody can tell me what this is? Anybody at all? Nobody? Okay. So this is from the website of Ganga Hospitals. These are the number of outpatients you handled last year. These are the number of inpatients you handled last year. This is the number of surgeries you did last year. Therefore, the number of surgeries you do per day or did last year is here. And therefore, the number of surgeries that happen in Ganga per hour is on an average 4. That is Ganga Hospital. So what does that make this hospital? Is it a hospital or is it an institution? Is it a profit-making, money-churning machine, or is it a place where service is provided? Now don't get me wrong, profit is not a bad word, but service is a very important word. Now typically you meet a Buddhist monk or any monk or in any sect or religion, they will tell you, when they talk of service, the gesture is like this, as in giving. So what is Ganga? I was just speaking to two very big people of Ganga Hospital and I was telling them, Ganga Hospital doesn't belong to you. It's become a treasure. Whether it's a Coimbatore treasure, whether it's a Tamil Nadu treasure, whether it's a national treasure, that is for you all to understand and create. That is what Ganga is. These numbers tell the tale. I don't have to tell it. So that is you. And this is you all within the conference. What is it that you see on the screen? Since I know only one person's name, Dr. Balavenkat, what do you see on the screen? Ma'am, I'm going to ask you the next question. What do you see? 1 crore. Okay. That means very few people understand it. So long back, it is said that things not understood are often admired. So this is one such thing. But tell me, ma'am, which is the prominent color on the screen? Which is the color that you see the most? Is it scarlet? Is it yellow? Is it pink? Is it saffron? Is it blue? Well, that question was not to you. Your question is coming. Pink, but the answer is black. You're right. That does not save you from the next question anyway. So, black is the largest component on the screen, size-wise. But pink strikes you because pink stood out. So what is the implication of this slide? we need to look beyond what we see. So we see, of course, we see the riot of colors. So when a patient comes to you, don't look at that patient, don't call that patient a case, for God's sake. And for God's sake, don't practice. I mean, come on, I put my life in your hands, don't practice on me. Do the perfect job on me. Practice on a dummy. But you use the word case and practice, so I hope you will refrain from using. I don't want to be case number 7261. Or let me go and practice on Arun. Goodness, practice. I will wake up from anesthesia and run. So do the real stuff on me, don't practice. But the point is, don't look at a patient. The day we look beyond the patient, we will grow from a hospital to an institution. See the human being, see their aspirations, see the family, and then treat that person. Probably half the treatment comes from looking at these things. But that is just what the slide was. Now the slide also tells you there is something specific which is only mine, which is only yours, sir, which is only yours, which is only yours, and only yours. Each of us has something which is only ours, which nobody else has got. Of course, it's a name and a DNA and everything else, but it is also experiences. So I have nothing medical to speak to you about, but I will speak to you about my experiences. But before that, ma'am, the question for you. You work at the hospital, ma'am? Come on. Doctor? Gazab. So, tell me, hope, inspiration. Tell me the connection between these two and your hospital. Quick question. This is IIT 13th rank type question. Jaldi bolna hai. The connection between hope, inspiration and your hospital. Okay, I'll rephrase. The connection between, I'm stopping you from thinking, you must understand that by asking you constantly, the connection between hope, inspiration and your job. You're wearing an awesome color blue, ma'am. But you have to stop listening to me and think about what you want to say. Connection between hope, inspiration and your job. No? I tell you. This also came to me in the gym this morning. You see both hope and inspiration. How do you see it? When people step into your hospital, they step in with hope. Also a belief that they will get better. When you cure them and they walk out of that hospital, that is the inspiration that you need to get better at the job that you have to do. Now, you are gifted. You are blessed to be in this job where every day you see inspiration. It's there in your campus. You also see hope. You will also see sometimes failure. That only proves we are human beings. But you should take away from today or every day that hope and that inspiration which will make you want to do a little more tomorrow. So I'll start this session with a little story. It's a story of a soldier of mine. I will cut it very brief because Balavenkat has given me exactly 60 minutes. Please tell me at 55 and I will stop. No issues, no offense will be taken. I understand time. So I was a very young officer at that time, and this was probably the year of the Lord 1987. So there was this young soldier who came to our unit. Now please understand, when a young soldier comes to a unit, he's 17 or 18, 19 at best. He's come into a grouping of 1,000 people, none of whom he knows. Probably doesn't speak their language, doesn't know anybody. Unlike any establishment, he doesn't go back home to sleep. He's sleeping there on campus with those 1,000 people whom he does not know. It's his first day. Imagine your first day in college or at work. That is how it is, multiplied by a factor of 10. So everybody is like this. But this man was different. He stood like this. He stood like this. He looked like this. There was a great gravitas about him. There was weight, there was balance, there was maturity, there was substance, and he didn't speak a word. This is all from body language. So that tells you as a doctor how important body language is from the perception of the patient. So even if it's a very difficult case, You must be, this is too easy. That's when that patient will start healing on their own. I've been shot 5 times. I'm proof. Now, as days went by, we saw this boy or this man. How do you call a 19-year-old soldier a boy? He's a young man. He was special. He was good at sport. He was good at drill, the ceremonial drill which soldiers are supposed to do. He got positions of pride which we only gave to senior soldiers. We didn't give it to young interns or, people doing their DNB. DNB is a course, right? Yeah, or something like that. I learned this in Shankar Netralaya very recently. I didn't know DNB was a degree. All right, anyway. So, you give it to people of seniority, some experience. But he started getting those. These are qualities of a leader. You don't have to be taught. You don't have to go to a fancy B school. Nobody has to give you a lecture. It's there in all of us. Do we choose to exercise it? Is the question. That's where ownership comes in. That's a separate argument. So we had to take part in a competition, and I was the officer in charge of that competition, and it involved, walking for 3 days in high altitude, which means above 14,000 feet, where the oxygen is very low and walking itself is difficult. And then, raiding a gun position and destroying it. That was our task. It was a competition. Like all military units, we want to win that competition. You don't take part in a competition to lose. Those days are long gone when people said participation is the essence. There are no runners-up. Does anybody remember who got the silver medal at the last Olympics in the 100-meter race? It doesn't work like that. So when you go into a competition, either you go to win or you don't go. So everybody wants to win. So we'd walked a day and a half and it was pouring. Well, the beauty about the rain is that when you get drenched, that 30-35 kilo pack which you're carrying on your back suddenly becomes 60-65. Those lovely dry socks which you wore suddenly become wet and one lump and go to the front of your shoe. Walking is a bugger. And you're wet, you're cursing everybody. Just not a nice thing to do. We were fatigued. That's the time we saw a shepherd with 2 pack mules, ponies if you wish. So my crooked mind went to work. That's why, IIT 13, you start thinking crooked before you think straight. That's why I left. So I decided, nobody's watching me. Why should I carry, what feels like 60 kilos? Let me take it off and put it on the pony. You walk a few miles with us, I'll give you 100 rupees. I'll be rested and then we'll win the competition. Lack of integrity. This is cheating. And it's bad. It shouldn't have come to my mind. If it had come to my mind, I should have had the integrity to curb that thought. But I didn't. I was the first one to take off my pack and put it on the mule. Absolute cheating at its worst. 4 others did the same thing. The 6th person was the young soldier. His name was Zamindar Khan. He didn't speak a word, but he did not take off his pack. He didn't need to speak a word. So the only emotion I felt that time was shame. Because my lack of integrity had been exposed not to anybody else but to me. This young soldier had shown me, who was an officer, the mirror without speaking a word. This is leadership at its best. Unsupervised, in the absence of orders, the actions that you do is leadership. So reluctantly, we all picked up our packs and put it on. There was a senior, sergeant, Havaldar, 3 stripes, who was the oldest, but he was an expert in some things. So we had to take him along. He couldn't run or walk like us, so he was fatigued. He abused him in languages which I did not even know existed. Good abuses. Because he was tired. But reluctantly we trundled along, and the next day we had stopped by the hillside for a 2-minute little oxygen break. Just stopped by the hillside to rest. When we got up from that break, we checked our equipment to see if we were carrying everything. That senior NCO, who yesterday had shouted at Zamindar Khan, said, "Saab, radio set nahi hai," which means I don't have my radio set. Now this is a crime. It's a crime in war, Because you lose your radio set, you can't communicate with your team. Your radio set gets found by the enemy, then they will listen to your communications. Now, as far as the competition is concerned, you finish without your radio set, you're disqualified. So you can do whatever you want, you'll be disqualified. You're not counted. And we were in no physical state to go back. But go back we had to. So when all of us were cursing that Howldar, that senior NCO, one man stands up. Zamindar Khan, he stands up and he says, Sahab, I will go. For the second day in a row, he had given us one more lesson in leadership. Stand up for the team that work for you. Be willing to sacrifice your own difficulties and comfort for the sake of your teams. Go a little longer for your teams than you would for yourself. Take a bit more load than the others. All these he spoke without speaking. That's the beauty of leadership. That's why leadership can never ever be taught in a B school. It has to be demonstrated in a hospital, on ground, in a factory, or on the ground. Otherwise, they're just reading material. So when he got up, we all got up. Now that NCO who had scolded him yesterday was feeling like a worm, but he was also grateful. So we went, we found the radio set, and for whatever it is worth, we won that competition. I came back and recounted these stories to the 1,000 men in my unit. Zamindar Khan, with all of 4 months of service, became a hero. Because of him, that we could do all of these things, he epitomized the qualities that we look for all the time. Whether it's in the army or whether it's in a hospital, we want these human qualities. That is the core of everything else. The best anesthesiologist, who's a terrible human being, will never ever be welcome anywhere. You got to be a great human being. That's the foundation on which any technical skill is built. He had all of it in ample measure. Rest of us needed to learn. He was just blessed with it. 2 months later, he was to go on leave. For his mother, he wanted to buy, for the foreigners in the audience, you may not understand the context. He wanted to buy a mixer grinder, a juicer, mixer grinder, blender if you wish. The Sumit Mixie was available in our canteen those days, in a military canteen, and it was a highly priced item. I made fun of Zamindar Khan and I told him, there is no electricity in your village. Why on earth do you want to buy a mixie for your mom? So he said, sir, there is no electricity today. But whenever electricity does come to our village, my mother must be the first person to use that. Because soldiers are essentially family men. Since we stay away from our families for so long, we are very emotional people, probably weak also, sentimental. Families are very, very important to us. So that is what he epitomized. For his mother, he also bought a little hand-wound HMT watch from the canteen. Yes, HMT watch. For the younger doctors in the audience, in this country of ours, in India, there was a time when there were only 2 companies that made watches. One was HMT and one was Olsen. And one of the more popular ladies' watches was called Kajal. Kajal as in Kajal, it's also a beautiful word, but Kajal was a model of a watch. Now, from the nodding of the heads in the audience, I know exactly how old people are. So you may have colored your hair. If you're nodding, that means you know HMT Kajal. All right. So for his father, he bought black leather patent shoes, which don't need to be polished, which shine all the time, which kids today are very fond of using. He was to go home, and I forgot about it because the 1,000 Jawans. At about 5 o'clock or 5:30, I get a call from the station master of that small train station in that town. It had but 2 platforms, one for oncoming train, one for a train that was leaving. And the station master told me, sir, thank you very much for your help. The fire has been put out. Now, I had not offered any help. Nobody had asked for any help, nor had I sent any help from the unit. But when he said fire, I was startled. So we quickly marshaled what is called the quick reaction team and went to the train station. It was dark, just dark when I reached the train station. The fire tender had come and put the fire out. So all that platform had was a station master's little office, a little waiting room, half the size of this hall, probably a toilet block the other side, and a little tea shop or a cafeteria on one side, which is where the fire had started. The lights had been turned off because the fire had just probably cut the mains or whatever else. But there were residual static electricity hanging around. The entire room was dark. I couldn't step inside the room till I had to pull out my handkerchief, dunk it in water, and then put it over my nose. Now, as I entered it, was black. There was still smoke coming out of furniture, from the carpeting on the floor, from everything. From the roof, at some places the roof had collapsed, but there was water trickling down from the fire engine's hosing. So wherever it touched the ground, there would be a hiss and a sizzle, and the water would, just evaporate instantly. Few electric wires would move and touch each other, and there would be sparks. That is what I saw. At the far end, now I had no idea of the geography or the layout of that room. I saw a door on the other side. And just as we were thinking of entering it, we didn't try and enter, through the door I saw a man struggling out with a package on his shoulder. Now I'm saying package because it looked like a package to me. It was wrapped and it was on his shoulder like this. So he came up here and struggled. When he came close, I saw it was Zamindar Khan. Now, I took that package from his shoulder. I noticed that his hand was bleeding, hurt, burnt. I couldn't make out much in the darkness. He also had blood on his face and the left side of his head. He gave me that package and he said, Saab, I'll say it in English. He said, Saab, there is something else. So he gave me that package and he went back inside. Our quick reaction team normally has a young doctor and a vehicle which is our ambulance. That's part of our drill. And we have only 12 people in the quick reaction team for many other duties to be done there. So I took this package and went to the doctor. Turned out to be a 22, 23-year-old lady who was unconscious at that time. We left her there and I came back here. And at the door I saw him coming out again with a very small bundle in his hand. He handed over that bundle to me. That's the time I saw that his hand was burnt. It was not injured, his hand was burnt. And the burns were significant, fairly significant. And the bleeding on his head was probably caused by a combination of burn and blunt force. So something had probably fallen on his head. That little package was fully covered in cloth. I took it to the doctor. I should have stopped him there, but I didn't stop him. Because he handed that and he ran back inside. So I took this package to the doctor. Turned out to be an 8 or 9 month old infant girl. Now look at the circumstance. There are 2 trains standing on both platforms. Each train has approximately 1,000 human beings inside the train. There are 10 of our own soldiers going on leave along with Zamindar Khan. So out of all these 2,000 people, there is only one human being who comes out of the train where he wants to go on leave to his mom and dad. He comes out of the train, goes into the fire and attempts to rescue people in the absence of any instruction. You want an example of ownership or leadership or the ability to sacrifice? This was a special human being. Special. There is no doubt about it. Can we learn and become special? Yes, because some skills everybody's got, some we need to learn. But this man was priceless. So I left that child. Now through this confusion, he had the wisdom of using, I don't know, maybe it was a curtain, maybe it was a bed sheet from the bed, maybe it was a tablecloth. He had wet that tablecloth completely. It was sopping wet and wrapped that baby like a mummy. In fact, when I took that baby to the doctor, that baby was not breathing and she had to be revived. But not a hair on that baby's head was even singed. How did he manage to think through this chaos or the confusion? That's a blessing. Now, when we reached there, at that point, we decided to go inside. And when I started to go inside, one of the rafters, a wooden beam from the roof fell down and it fell on one of our soldiers. So we spent a couple of minutes trying to rescue that fallen soldier, minor injuries. When out of the door struggled Zamindar Khan again, this time carrying a package in his hands like this. He came here, I took the package from his hand and he collapsed. Now I had a choice whether to take this package to the hospital or to take Zamindar Khan to the hospital, because there were only so many human beings with me. But since that package was in my hand, we took it. Turned out to be an elderly lady, about 60, 62. So ladies and gentlemen, in a span of about 20 minutes, this soldier who was going home on leave comes out of his train in the absence of instructions, goes into a raging fire, rescues a grandmother, a mother, and a granddaughter, all of whom walked out of the ambulance in half an hour after being treated. When Zamindar Khan was carried to the ambulance, I saw he had no left hand below the elbow. He had only his two bones. The rest of the flesh, tissue, blood vessels had just burnt. Now I don't know if at that extremely high temperature the rest of the blood vessels gets sealed, or I don't know what happens, but there was little or no bleeding. It was a mass of yellow and red and white and two bones here. The palm was only skeleton. There was few bits of flesh and skin sticking at multiple places. That was his left hand. This head injuries normally look worse than they actually are, so I wouldn't have been able to make an estimate, but he was badly injured on his head. He was breathing extraordinarily heavily because through that half an hour he'd been inhaling only carbon monoxide probably. So before he went to the hospital in the ambulance, I held his hand. I held his right hand in my hand. He told me in Hindi, and I will say it in Hindi and translate it. He told me, "Saab, ghar pe mat batana," which means don't tell them at home. He's taken to the hospital. 2 days later, he died. He died. I mean, post-mortem will give you 100 reasons of why he died, but he died. He died essentially because his lungs packed up. They would have still gotten over the hand injury. Hospitals in India, small town hospitals, were very different 25 years back. They still are very different. Very few people have access to large hospitals and quick care. But he died. So in our organization, we don't allow people to go home unaccompanied. So since I was his friend, I agreed to escort him on his final journey. I was given one instruction by my commanding officer that nobody at home should be able to see his body, because he's quite badly burnt. There were burns on the rest of the body as well, which I didn't see then. And then there is a post-mortem. And then families like to remember a happy face of their near and dear one. They don't like to remember a torrid image. This was the instruction I was given. So I had passed it through the railway station communication, that the moment I reach there, I want the burial to take place. So I reach there, it's a bordered state of India. Anybody from Rajasthan here? Awesome. So this is from Rajasthan. So anybody from Badmer? No. Badmer is a western district of Rajasthan. Incidentally, from next month onwards, I'm going to be in Jaipur. So, Badmer is our westernmost district, borders Pakistan, and in Badmer was a little hamlet called Khalifon Ki Baudi, KKB, hamlet of 40 villages, which is where he belonged, just a few meters away from our border with Pakistan. That's where he belonged. So that's where I went. It was the time of sunset by the time I reached there. And like I had requested, we went straight to the burial ground. As we were about to lower the casket into the ground, I looked west. I looked at the sky in front, and the sky was resplendent in a riot of colors. So more colors than you see on the screen. So there was the blue, fading blue of the sky overhead, spotless, cloudless blue sky above. The blue faded into grey as it receded into the horizon. There was the sun setting there, so there was orange, there was liquid gold coming out of that ball of the sun. There was crimson, there was magenta, there was purple, there was red, there was silver. The odd cloud in the horizon had that beautiful silver lining and it was dark grey. That was the sky there. It seemed to me at that point that all the gods in the heaven had gathered there to say farewell to their special son, because he was a special son. Now while this was happening, this was the time of the Maghrib. Does anybody know what the Maghrib is? Maghrib? Sorry, sir? Correct. So the devout Muslim prays 5 times a day. The 4th prayer is the Maghrib. It happens at sunset, plus minus. The 5th one is close to dinner time. So while he was being laid to rest in the ground, from the village below, you could hear the muezzin or the mullah or the Maulvi calling for the devout to pray. This is the call that's made in India on a loudspeaker, telling the others it is time to pray. Now, as he was being lowered and the sky was like this, you could hear the azan wafting above the dunes and coming into my ears. No better farewell for a hero. As they were lowering the casket, his mother, a very small lady, Fatima B, came running out of that crowd. She held my uniform and grabbed it. The top 2 buttons of my shirt tore. In her burst of emotion, she asked me, again I'll say it in Hindi and translate. She asked me, Mara kaise? How did my son die? That's a mother's grief. Probably only a mother understands, we're all not qualified to understand that. And that was the only thing I couldn't tell her. And I was all of 21 and a half myself. I was an officer, so I was expected to remain stoic and not shed tears. But I was a wreck inside and I didn't know what to do. I wanted to open the casket and show her son, but I was told not to do that. I wanted to tell her how he died, but he himself had said, don't tell my parents that. So I was a mess. So when that happened, his father stepped forward. Now, Zamindar Khan was a head taller than me. His father was a head taller than him. And in the desert for the burial, he was in spotless white. A crease like a knife edge. That is when I realized from where Zamindar Khan became Zamindar Khan. So he stood there, his face was like old leather, living in the desert. He was also a Jawan in the army. He comforted his wife, took her to one side, and he put his hand on my shoulder. I'll say it in Hindi and then I'll translate. He said, Saab, ye mat batao Zamindar Khan mara kaise? Ye batao Zamindar Khan jiya kaise? Or, sir, please don't tell us how Zamindar Khan died. Tell us how he lived. So, ladies and gentlemen, the moral of the story is just this. How do we lead our lives? We've done with this, I think. So, what do you see on the screen? That's your question, ma'am. You thought I'd forgotten, no? What do you see? Nothing. You don't see this little purple square here? That's the effect of an old LED screen. That's not the slide. What do you see? You see red. Okay. What do you see, sir? Okay, you see a reflection red and white. That smart doctor on your right. Same thing. Now smart lady on your right. Vedant. What do you see? You tell me what do you see. Don't worry about what your mom and dad have said. You tell me what is it you see. What do you see? Stand up and answer my question. Chalo. Don't worry. Nobody here knows anything. You come here. Talk to me. Don't worry about them, Vedant. Tell me what do you see on the screen. It's for me. What do you see? There's a red light. or red line? What could it be? What could it be? Oh, that is abstract. But English alphabet language learner klande. What's the line between two words called? It's called a hyphen. What's it called? Hyphen. It's called a hyphen. So we'll take hyphen. Big round of applause for Vedant. So I said it's called a hyphen. So I show you a gravestone. Everybody's seen a gravestone? Most people have seen a gravestone. Some of us have cried at a gravestone. Some of us have worshipped at a gravestone. Some of us have gone to offer flowers. Some have only seen in movies. Doesn't matter. This is typically what you see in a gravestone, and I don't know who these gentlemen are. So don't go there. What you see on this gravestone are 3-4 things. Of course, so there is a name of, name of the person. Yeah. There is the date of birth. There is a date of death. Also his son who lies buried here. None of these things are in the gentleman's control. None of those things about your life are in your control. You did not pick the date, time and place you were born. That is a matter of destiny, probably of choice these days also, but it is still not your choice. It is somebody else's choice. The name that is given to you is not your choice. I didn't pick Arun. My parents did. The only thing that is in my control is here. The journey between my date of birth and my date of death, which is popularly called the dash, is also called a hyphen. And there's a beautiful book called The Dash. I recommend that you read it. It's called The Theory of the Dash, which means that you have control only on the journey from your birth to your death. And how you live your life in the dash will decide your legacy. So you can choose whether you want to live to be a good human being, great human being, ordinary human being, a rascal, or something else. That's a choice we all make. So we're all living in the dash. So we don't take ourselves too seriously, because at the end of it, we'll all be 6 feet down or burnt. One of the two. It's just this journey. That is how insignificant or significant our lives are, should we choose to make it so. So this is, you're all anesthesiologists, so you know what this is. But the fact is, from the time you walked into this auditorium and I started speaking to now, there have been multiple changes in your bodies. Those changes are happening as we speak. And again, we have no control over it. I don't know if with medication you can control this change, but I don't think we can, not yet, and I hope we never are able to. Some changes you should, but most changes you can't. So my argument is, with reference to your specialization, everything is changing. Anesthesiology of the future, Doc, how would you like to administer anesthesia to me if I'm in an operating theater 700 miles from you? Through my phone. I don't know. Think about it. It may happen. We got to allow for it to happen. Just think about it. It may be a bad idea. Shoot it down later. But at least think about it. This change is constant. It's happening as we speak. So Dr. Balavenkat may finish this conference and sit back in that fancy recliner of his with a glass of whiskey or whatever else that you like to drink. Or whatever else. Buttermilk if you wish. And say, you know, what an awesome conference. We've discussed the absolute cutting edge in anesthesiology. Cutting edge till you finish your drink. Then it's no longer cutting edge. So therefore you need to get ahead of that cutting edge curve. Can you get ahead of that cutting edge curve? You can't. But you can keep some sort of pace with that cutting edge. So that is what we need to do as specialists and as leaders. So what is it that you see, ma'am, in the lovely yellow? You are wearing yellow, ma'am. My nazar stopped there, so I asked you. What is it that you see? Quickly. Chess. You see chess. Okay. Ma'am, in the pink and yellow dupatta. Ma'am, your neighbor is wearing white. How much ever you look at her, it will not become pink. Yeah. Okay. You see the chess pawns or the coins, we will take that. Okay, sir. In the jacket, very smartly turned out. You see black color, okay, sir. Answer up. Okay, you see white pawns and chess pieces, black color. Ma'am, what is it that you see? You see a grid. Awesome. So you saw something which others didn't see till now. Okay, ma'am, what is it that you see? Yeah, that's not my slide. Okay? Anything else? Okay, ma'am in black, next to that gentleman in a maroon shirt. Yeah. You're wondering why I didn't ask maroon shirt. Next time I'll go there. Ma'am, batao please, what do you see? Okay, I was doing a session in Coimbatore only. This was largely young boys. So one of them said, sir, kya mazak kar rahe ho? I only see the beautiful queen. Okay. This is a session for 12,000 young boys. 12,000 boys, and this guy says, sir, I can only see the queen. And awesome. So I asked him, how many girlfriends do you? He said, sir, many. So I said, sweetie, you need to be careful as you grow up in life. Sir?
At the end of the game, will you be a king or queen of pawn? You go in the same box.
Awesome. We will take that as well. So this 5-year-old girl in a session I did in Bangalore told me, I see straight lines. Very close to what you said. But she was grade 5, 10-year-old, grade 5. She said, I see straight lines. Awesome. Today is my 869th such session. There's only one person till now in all these sessions who has said, I see straight lines. But their perception, each of us sees different things. Sometimes you get carried away by my previous questions and start answering different things, thinking I want to hear that. But it's not about the right answer, it's about your answer. So straight lines. So I have a theory. If we have to live in the dash, it is you. It is you who are living in the dash. When you look at yourself, you say, it is I. It is me. And that is the power of I or the power of me. Can one good anesthesiologist change the course of a hospital's journey? I think so. And I think every anesthesiologist must also think so. Forget about anesthesiologists. Every junior employee of GANGA hospital must believe that I am doing the most important job in GANGA hospital. So therefore, there should be no mistake in what I do. Whether I am serving tea, whether I am running the canteen, whether I am looking after the audio video in this auditorium, whether I am looking after seating, whether I am doing hospitality, whether I am doing cleaning, facility management, I have the most important job and I will give it 500%. That is the power of I. And when the power of I resonates across each employee, you will grow from being an institution to being a treasure. That's the journey and that's a leadership function. It will come if you make it happen. If you sit by and wait for it to happen, this is not going to happen. It's hard work, constant communication, constant reassuring, constant HR practices, good HR practices, all come together. Of course, knowledge. Of course, the technical deliverables that you provide have to be top of the line. So it's whether it's I, me, one, or you, it's the same thing. It's your power. You have the power to make a difference should you choose to. You can say, I am an anesthesiologist. Today I have to be part of 2 surgeries. So I will come, I will do those 2 surgeries. I have some patient which I have to do. I have 2-3 papers, files I have to sign. I will do that. I'll hang my white coat behind the chair or wherever you hang it and I will go. Then you're not providing any difference to the hospital. You have to, each of us has to do that little more than what is expected. So yesterday I went to a manufacturing company in Coimbatore, in your town. And the chairman is also a fairly senior citizen. He told me, sir, everybody in this conference room, and this is the senior management, he says everybody does 50% more than what their assigned job is. So somebody looks after a school, somebody looks after CSR, somebody looks after welfare of employees. They're all extra. That is how a small manufacturing company becomes a world leader. That is how it works. The power of magic lines is something else. Doc, how do anesthesiologists cheat? What do you mean, you don't cheat? Come on. Yeah, and I'm the king of Spain. How do people cheat? How do hospitals cheat? How do doctors cheat? How do institutions cheat? All institutions have the ability to cheat. Wanting to cheat or not wanting to cheat is a organizational philosophy. It's a choice that you make. Somebody may make a choice to cheat. Somebody may say, we will not cheat. That's a choice. Now, if you make a choice to not cheat, you are walking within the straight line. So what is the straight line? So I'll start from the top or start from the bottom? Doc, where do I start from on straight line? Bottom? Okay. So the bottommost values, you have children? Do you have children? How many? How old are they? Okay. So when your children were very small, what did you tell them? That's the character value. Character values did you tell them? Be straight. You could have told them be kind to people. You could have told them be helpful to people. You could have told them not to lie. You could have told them not to cheat. You could have told them to always share their food with somebody else who doesn't have food. These are values of childhood. When you go to school, you have different values which the school will lay down. When you go to medical college, you have different values the medical college lays down. When you get a job in GANGA hospitals, it got a sequence of actions or protocols which you are obliged to follow. Those are values. You live in an apartment building. Your apartment has got some rules. Dry waste in green, wet waste in blue, can't have radioactive waste at home, but radioactive waste in yellow, and so on and so forth. Now, those are rules. We live in a city which has rules. We live in a country which has rules. The straight line essentially means follow the rules. That's all it means. Now, when you follow the rules, you will sleep like a baby. You will sleep 8 hours a day, or 7 hours, or how many ever. Anesthesiologists sleep very well, I believe. Because one injection there, one injection here, and bliss. Or in the days of the mask, one mask there and one puff here and nirvana. No? Doc? You're looking at me, that means I'm right. No, I'm just saying anybody who lives a hard, straight life will sleep well. Will sleep without fear. Will sleep without worry. So straight is also about doing the best thing for the patient despite the conflict. Straight is also in your conversation with insurance companies. Straight is also in your communication with vendors. Straight is also in the implementation of government policies. All those are the straight line, and that is simply it. So I'll show you something about this tree. So this is the most researched word on Google after COVID. So Google has a meter which calculates what is the most Googled word. So post-COVID, this has turned out to be the most popular word that was Googled, and this tree is symbolic of that word. Resilience. Now please read on the screen. So the third point is the one that is most important. It's not going to happen on its own. So this is for the senior management to handle. Now who is senior management? As far as I am concerned, when you look into the mirror, you see senior management. You'll not see it anywhere else. So it's your responsibility. Look into the mirror and say, I am responsible for that practice and the discipline which will build resilience. There's an institute in Switzerland that specializes only in resilience, incidentally, and makes a lot of money doing it. Okay, so all doctors, so you should know the answer to this question. This is class 6 biology. But I have some bad news for you. This is class 6 biology today. When you did class 6 biology, you did internal section of a leaf or something like that. So, is this real or is this Disney studio fabrication? Ma'am? Fabricated. Nakli hai matlab. Pura. So if I was Amitabh Bachchan, I will say lock kar diya jaye or something like that. So, you're sure it's fabricated. You think it's fabricated. Ma'am? Real. Okay, why real? Because you had to counter view. Okay, any other reason? Okay, why not? Why not? Tool ke liye mat kar dena, baki theek hai. Yeah, okay. So, yes, sir. Sir, all evolutionary organisms. I'm no doctor, but I know we are all evolving. Yeah. So it's real. Why? Why are you saying it's real? Do you know or it's a guess? Then give me the name. Sir, there are no marks. Give me a full answer. Ma'am? It survived so many mass extinctions. Okay? Reasonable. This is the name of this creature. It's called a tardigrade. What is special about this? It has all these qualities in huge measure. Why am I saying this? On the photograph, it looks nice and cute and chubby. It is. So it's got a lot of wonderful names. It's called a moss piglet. It's also called, I think, some underwater bear or something like that. It looks really cute. What's magical about this? At its full size, when it's like this, it's 0.5 milligrams and 0.5 millimeter. So you can't see it. Now when you take it out of water, it dehydrates. And 0.5 must become something like 0.11 or something like that. It becomes like a speck of dust and flies off. Wherever it finds water, it soaks up the water and the nutrients and becomes like that again. Now, it can survive at minus 70, 75 degrees centigrade. It can survive at plus 75 degrees centigrade. It has lived in a vacuum, it has traveled to space and it's come back. And it did not go on, on Virgin Atlantic spaceship. It went many, many years back with the Russians. So it went without protection, no space suit. This animal does not know how to die. In other words, does not know how to give up. It's a symbol of resilience, of tenacity, of perseverance, and so on. It also looks very cute. So when you wish to give an example of something that is resilient, this is a great example. Okay, does anybody know who this man on the screen is? Mo Farah. Anything else about Mo Farah, sir, that you know? What's this? Don't give up on a patient. Don't give up on I hate to use the word, don't give up on a case. Don't give up on a difficult patient. Don't give up on an easy patient. Don't give up on research. Don't give up. Just don't give up. You got to keep trying. You just go to the history of this man. Look at this man. He raced for the Spanish cycling team. He has no left side, no hand, no leg. He forgot to tell himself, I cannot cycle. You want inspiration? Next time you complain, ma'am, about wearing those stiletto heels, look at him. He just doesn't complain. Look at the qualities that he's shown. You can add 100 other qualities and you'll still be right. We need to exemplify all of them in whatever we do. It's not just enough to be a great doctor. You need to be a great doctor. That is the foundation. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting in this hall. But we are looking at making your institutions great. Your greatness, ladies and gentlemen, lies in producing 10 other people like you. That is when you'll be great. You have achieved what you wanted. Let somebody else empower somebody else get to that level. This flower was never told that it can't grow in a parched field, yet it grew. Nobody told these children they can't play football. They don't have both legs, double amputees. This is a beautiful looking young woman. Most of you all will think, why have I put the photograph of an actress? This is not an actress. This is her. And if you still think she's just a good looking lady who plays badminton, how many people in this audience have been featured on the cover of Time magazine? And then we can have a conversation. That is her name. She had an accident at the age of 22. 22, her life and dreams would have been shattered. She picked up a sport which she loved to play as a child and became the world #1 in para badminton. That is inspiration. That's what I'd like you to do. We will skip these bits. Doc, how much time do I have? Where's the doc? He's disappeared. You've changed this, okay? I'll skip this. I'll skip this too. Oh, you're skipping all the good parts. I'll skip this. I'll go to the last few bits on my slide. What should be there in an anesthetist DNA? So many things. You can see them. Why have I put integrity? Because you're always a little more than an anesthetist. What is this definition of more? I don't know, that you have to define for yourself. So maybe the surgeon gets all the bouquets at the end of the surgery. But maybe it's the anesthetist who's actually watching the entire process who can improve that process. Maybe surgeons are what they are because anesthetists are always there watching them. How do you know? That is my interpretation of a good anesthetist. And I'm okay to be wrong. So integrity, that's where it comes. Desire to lead, you must want to own. You must own it, the process. Intelligence, education, self-confidence, drive and passion. But I'll give you some leadership or life lessons come down the way. So when you finish your MD or DNB or whatever ABCD fancy, alphabets at the end of your name, this is how you are. You have a lot of knowledge. The rubber waits to hit the road. The ultimate proof is when the rubber hits the road. That's when friction happens. So you join a hospital, they give you a code, a manner of operating, and then you become like this. So you walk that straight line. Soon you have a small team. You have one intern reporting to you. You have 3 of the OT nurses or your anesthesia set of helpers who come to you and say, sir or madam, we've got the next surgery. What do you want me to do? So suddenly you say, hello. Till now I was standing here and receiving instructions. Now I'm having to give them. So suddenly life will become like this. Where you have other people depending on what you have to say. Soon you'll become seniors like you are. Heads of institutions and representatives from overseas countries. Life will become like this. It's a lot more complex than when you started out of med school. Suddenly entire teams of institutions of people are dependent on you. When you actually become managing even little larger places, the world will look like this. In all this, this is my favorite sculpture. This was made by a Japanese scientist, designer, and he carved the first model in wood by himself. This is amongst all 3D animated objects, this is a stellar landmark. But life will become like this. Now through all this, how do you retain your sanity? Is to keep the wheels within your brain going. So, Dr. Balavenkat sir, while you're sipping that nice amber beverage, the question you must, amber, golden, yeah. The question you must ask yourself is, what next? What next? What more can we do for the next conference? What more can we do for our subject? What more can we do for the cause of anesthetists in general? Drive passion, we've spoken about all of this. Doing the right things. Integrity is only doing the right things. Nothing more. Just do the right things. All the knowledge that you have, as far as I am concerned, a patient, why do I say 25 years? Look up. When you use your wisdom and your experience and the knowledge to foresee the future and predict it accurately, find for a patient 25 years from now the requirement, and in the next 25 years you build that requirement. That is what we expect from good leaders and good doctors. From a Messiah's handbook, just some random things. You don't always have to look outside the box. These days everybody is talking outside the box. We have forgotten that the box itself has many solutions. You do look even inside the box. You will find some very simple solutions inside the box. Don't be afraid to challenge me. So for the younger doctors in the audience, please remember, the books which the people in front studied when they went to medical school stopped getting published by the time you went to high school. So what you read is completely contemporary. It's current, it's modern, it's futuristic. You have at your disposal, today you can sit here in this hall when I'm speaking to you and probably attend a class at Harvard Med School online. You could do that. None of these people could do that when they were your age. So you have the knowledge at your disposal, use it to challenge the old people, but please be the straight line. Use the correct form of courtesies, use the correct protocols. Don't call me an idiot. Please not on my face. Do that behind my back, it's fine. But in a conference, challenge my knowledge with yours. If you win, I will walk out with your idea, and if I win, all of you all will walk out with mine. That is how teams work. Don't neglect details. The largest successes may not be successes because of that small detail which has been left out. At the end of it, you have a large hospital, sir, you have so much of equipment, you have so much of technology. Your success depends upon people. Everything else is a mirage. Invest in people and you will get returns. Whether it's your juniors at work, whether it's your interns, whether it's anybody else, if they're not bringing their problems to you, it means two things. Whether personal or professional. It means that they believe that you don't have the capability to solve their problem, or worse, they believe that you just don't care. Both are failures of leadership. We'll skip this. Perpetual optimism. Just be happy. It's one life. It's all the dash that we have. I am probably 3/4 of the dash down. I don't know how many of y'all are how much down the dash, but we are all down the dash. So perpetual optimism. Be grateful for what you have and enjoy what you have today. This is a Japanese samurai poet who said this. You know, so what if my roof burnt down? I can see the stars tonight. That's optimism. You become what you become, empower somebody else. Involve everybody. These are what leaders do. Share the excitement. So, first time I'm seeing you wearing a bloody tie and a jacket. Where's the party? Ma'am, pink sari, Kalakitellinga. Where's the party? So your blue sari is awesome. Checked podave. Adu endur podave. Where's the party? White shirt, where's the party? Green tie, where's the party? Adu enna color podave? Whatever color, where's the party? Vedant, you have a nice name, where's the party? Ma'am, unga orange first class irukku. Idukku appuram sweet vaangida unekku. Ma'am, your checked skirt and blouse is fantastic, where's the party? Find a reason to celebrate. You have 20 people. I know a doctor's life is tough. Find ways to enjoy what you do. Everybody's team must be celebrated. So somebody has a birthday, you don't need a cake to put a candle in. My forefathers many years back invented a dish which was designed to hold a candle. It's called the vada. In its design, it was made to hold a candle. Put a candle in the vada, put it in idli, put it in a bonda. Abey jisme jo marji usme mombatti dalo, happy birthday bro. Enjoy. Each celebrate with everybody. Motivate. We've done this, so I'll skip this. Share stories. Stories are very important. On the walls of this hall, I see that the walls of this hall are blank. This is an educational space, sir. Please fill it with inspiring stories of people of Ganga. Common people. Your ward boys, your ambulance drivers, your assistants, your people who work in the ER. Put their photograph and put a little story inside. That man will feel good. I will feel that next time I want to do something so that my photograph comes on this wall. Everybody else who comes will read it and feel inspired. They'll say, wow, this is Ganga. So, just a little suggestion. You can select all, delete. That's the advantage of technology. Any stories? Ma'am, do you read Chinese, ma'am? Anybody reads Chinese? Can you tell me what this means? Awesome. I must also, okay, I don't speak or read Chinese. But in the alphabet, so Chinese is a complex language. So this is an alphabet. This is a word. It's also a phrase. But the beauty about this character is that in whichever context you see it, it is just one thing, and which ma'am identified very correctly. Respect. Please respect others. If you ask me how much should I respect you, as much as you want to be respected, no more, no less. That's easy. Whatever you do, generate happiness. So if you can give me some, I don't know, strawberry flavored anesthesia, I'm very happy. But ask me before that. Don't tell me count and give me strawberry. I may not like strawberry, then it will never work on me. So I don't know, just happiness. We've done this before, but I now lead a young person. So I'll ask you, son, because you're wearing an awesome green shirt, lime green tie. You'll have to stand up. Rumba kastamana question this is. And don't worry, nobody is listening to you. In any case, nobody remembers. Ella anesthesiologists, abdi rendu puff pottu pin manathu poiduvaa. So who has the key to your happiness? Your wife is sitting on your right, son. I suggest you be careful with what you say. Adu podumannige. You don't want to go back home tonight. Vedant doesn't have the key to your happiness. Your mom and dad don't have the key to your happiness. Awesome, Vedant. Your grandparents. So how many keys does your lock of happiness have? Correct. So I'll give you that. So as a human being, a lot of people have keys to our happiness. I understand that. But metaphorically, in this world, we have to realize, because that dash you travel alone. On the screen, that dash had a shadow. In life also, the only thing that goes with you is your shadow. Nothing else. Nothing else. So, keep the key of happiness with you. When you do it, that nasty surgeon in all your hospitals where you work, there will always be one nasty surgeon. Okay, maybe more than one. So that surgeon will look like this. That other anesthetist who's always trying to steal some research work that you do will look like this. The person who's very atrocious neighbor will look like this. And this bald general who has overshot the time that was given to him will look like this. But you need to keep the key of happiness with you. Why am I saying this? As delegates of the GARC 2023, you are challenged to be architects of the future. That is your challenge. Now, if you don't accept this challenge, this is the only option. You will become the defenders of a certain decline. So you have to see the way forward and walk 3 paces down that road. 3, 4, 5, as much as your capacity is. You cannot stand there because the rest of the world would have gone ahead. You'll be right there. Because when we look at happiness or change or progress or growth or whatever it is, leadership, don't look for it here. Don't look for it from PwC or Deloitte or any of these consulting companies. It's not going to come from there. Because all of these are inside jobs. They will come from you. They will come from within. So lastly, let me hear this. Give me a loud response if you can. Do you like this view? Yes. This is a loud response? Yes. This is how I thought surgeons listen to rock music and all when they cut. There are 2 big surgeons here. You listen to some music when you cut and all that? Loud or soft? It depends. I get spoiled by watching Doctor Who and all. He listens to metal and yeah. So let's do it once more. Do you like this view? Yes. Awesome, Vedant. So as anesthesiologists, this is the view that you must see. I'll tell you why. Progress, invention, discovery, change has never happened in midfield. It always happens at the edge of the envelope. So you necessarily need to go there. That is when you'll find that next big thing. So my hope and prayer for all those who are attending this conference and for all those sirs in GANGA hospital is this. I hope your life is always filled with views like this. Here I have started doing something new in the last 3 or 4 sessions, which I'll do again today. I'll have to request all of you all to please stand for a moment. So, because I'm in the army, stand up. No, sorry. Because I'm in the army, when I asked people to stand up, the normal assumption is that, it's the end of the session and we're going to sing the national anthem or something like that. No, this is the time of the session where I want you to please put your hands together in an applause for me.
Thank you so much, Arun sir, for that exhilarating and very provoking and inspiring talk. May I request our directors, Dr. Rajshekharan sir and Dr. Rajsabhadri sir, to present a small memento on behalf of all of us present here. So that was an excellent exposition of what we need to do and how to take us forward. It's time to present the Distinguished Mentor Award, and may I request Vasumati Divekar Madam to please come on to the stage.
A pioneer, guru, exemplary teacher, and able administrator, Dr. Vasumati Divekar is a towering presence in anesthesiology. She was the first to establish a fully equipped anesthesia laboratory in Corporation Hospital. She pioneered the post-anesthesia recovery room, OPD, pain clinic, and record keeping at Sion and Nair hospitals in the 1970s. She has been professor and head, Department of Anesthesia, LTMG Hospital, BYL Nair Hospital, and PDY Patil Medical College, where she has been emeritus professor from 1997. Dr. Divekar was the founder president, SARC Anesthesia Society, and the national president, Indian Society of Anesthesiologists. She is the recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award of ISA Indore and the Lifetime Achievement Award of ACTA.
May I request Padma Shri Dr. Rajgopal sir to be escorted to the stage, please.
Widely acknowledged as the father of billions of care in India, Padma Shri awardee Dr. Rajgopal is the founder chairman of Billion India, a palliative care non-governmental organization formed in 2003 and based in Kerala. His advocacy has resulted in important initiatives, including the creation of a national program for palliative care by the Ministry of Health, Government of India, and an amendment of the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act of India. He is on the editorial board of several international journals and has authored, edited 2 textbooks, several book chapters, including the Oxford Textbook of Palliative Medicine, and more than 30 publications in scientific journals. Dr. Rajgopal holds positions of eminence, including Director, WHO Collaborating Center for Policy and Training on Access to Pain Relief.
I request Brigadier Ramachandran sir to be escorted to the stage, please.
Dr. Brigadier Ramachandran has served the country with dedication and honor. His illustrious career includes positions such as Leader, Department of Anesthesiology in FMC, and professorships with the Department of Anesthesiology at Army Hospital, IMHS Ashwin, Prince Pondicherry, and Nasa University, Malaysia. He delivered the Brigadier P.M. Bhatt Memorial Lecture at the 12th Annual Conference of IACTA. Dr. Ramachandran has been awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Annual Conference in 2014 and at ISACON in 2015.
May I request Professor P.K. Singh,
the Vice Chancellor of the UP University of Medical Sciences, Dr. Professor Prabhat Kumar Singh's brief CV runs into close to 30 pages. He is an examiner for postgraduate courses and faculty selections, member of statutory committees at institutions of eminence, and mentor to many colleges, including the Patna Medical College and Hospital and the Government Medical College, Bhagalpur. Dr. Singh is known for his valuable contributions to the field of education. At SGPGIMS, he devised the 1-year postdoctoral certificate course, the first of its kind in the country. He has over 115 publications and 107 conference presentations. Among his many honors is a stamp issued by the Postal Department, Bihar, and numerous Corona Warrior Awards. The government of Bihar has bestowed on him the Doctor's Pride Award, the Doctor's Samman and a Health Icon of Bihar Award.
May I request Dr. Ehanatha Pillai to be escorted to the stage.
Dr. Ehanatha Pillai is Emeritus Professor at the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University, Chennai. The former Professor of Anesthesiology at Madurai Medical College and Government Rajaji Hospital has been a part of the field of anesthesiology for close to half a century. A loved and renowned teacher in anesthesiology for more than 47 years, he received the Best PG Teacher of the State Award in 2010 from the Indian Society of Anesthesiologists, Delhi. He is also the recipient of the Dr. AAA Award for Academic Excellence 2022 from the Alumni Association of Madurai Medical College. From 2000 to 2020, Dr. Pillai authored many well-respected textbooks on anesthesiology. Dr. Ehanatha Pillai enjoys training and teaching young medical graduates so as to make them safe specialists and spending more time in teaching the principles of ethical practice to medical students and medical graduates.
When such distinguished mentors get the award, it's prudent that those who led the Indian Society of Anesthesiology, the president of this great organization, we are very fortunate to have 13 such past presidents with us today. May I request, led by the current president, Dr. Dineshwar, to come to the stage. May I request Professor Dr. K. Balakrishnan sir. May I request the President and Secretary of the Coimbatore branch of Indian Society of Anesthesiologists to escort them to the stage, Dr. Sarvana Kumar and Dr. Dinesh, Dr. Kameshwar Rao, Brigadier Prabhakar, Dr. Venkatagiri, Dr. J. Ranganathan, Dr. B. Radhakrishnan, Dr. Chakra Rao sir, the incoming President-elect Dr. Divatia sir, and the Vice President of Indian Society of Anesthesiologists, Dr. Mahesh Sinha. I'm just not sure whether Dr. Deepak Malavia has arrived. Dr. Deepak Malavia. So it is indeed a pleasure to have such luminaries, and I also consider prudent that the mother of the Indian Society of Anesthesiologists is the World Federation of Society of Anesthesiologists, and may I request the past president of the WFSA, Dr. Jannicke Melin Olsen, to come to the stage, please. So I request Lieutenant General Arun sir, so please come forward, be with the luminaries when we present this award. I request Dr. K. Balakrishnan sir, the past president of SACA and past president of Indian Society of Anesthesiologists, to present it on behalf of the galaxy of past presidents, along with Lieutenant General Arun, to Madam Vasumati Deveka. Madam, a round of great applause and appreciation for your phenomenal contribution to the fraternity of anesthesia and for being so young at heart, irrespective of So now may I request the Distinguished Mentor Award being presented to Padma Shri Dr. Rajagopal sir. Sir, you have done a phenomenal service in palliative care and alleviating the pain of innumerable number of patients. May I request Professor Balakrishnan sir to come forward to present that award with General Arun sir to Padma Shri Rajagopal sir. Thank you so much, sir. May I request the Distinguished Mentor Award being presented to Budala Ramachandran, and may I request the President, it's a great honor to present it to the teacher, Major Dr. Bhimeshwar, to join General Arun to present it to Brigadier Ramachandran, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now, the Distinguished Mentor Award being presented to Dr. P.K. Sansa. Sir, please come forward, and may I request Dr. B. Radhakrishnan, sir, to present this, and may I request Brigadier Prabhakar, sir, to adorn the shawl on him. Thank you very much, sir. May I request the Distinguished Mentor Award being presented to Dr. Eknath Pillai. May I request Dr. Chakra Rao to present that award, and may I request Dr. Kameshwar Rao, sir, to adorn the shawl on Dr. Eknath Pillai. It's absolutely, internally you feel so happy to recognize the phenomenal contributions of these great leaders to the fraternity of anesthesia. Thank you very much, sir, and thank you so much, madam. And thanks to all the presidents for being here on this auspicious occasion in felicitating these mentors. Thank you so much. I also take this opportunity to thank on behalf of each one of you, Lieutenant General Arun, who impacted, inspired us and he wants to take leave for another assignment, and a big round of applause for his time with us. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, it is. It is.
So thank you so much, sir. And
Thank you. Nandri, you're welcome, sir.
we have a few more things to do now. And if we go by the idea that this country has to grow, progress, we missed Dr. Harsur, sir. So Harsur, sir, please come up. We missed you. Sorry, Dr. Balabaskar. Dr. Balabaskar, so please come forward. Oh, I think we saw this row and we missed both of you that's sitting in the crowd, but may I request both of you to come forward to present the Special Recognition Awards. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm extremely sorry that I missed seeing both of you. So please come forward. And it is very crucial and important that we need to recognize the contributions to the literature, and I request the past president of Indian Society of Anesthesiology and the past editors of the Indian Journal of Anesthesia, Dr. Balabaskar and Dr. Harsur, to come on stage to present the Special Recognition Award. Shall we start the slides? Balabaskar sir and Harsur sir to the stage, please. So may I request Dr. Mukul Kapoor, sir, thank you so much for being the editor in of the anesthesiology, and this is the hard work that you put in. Thank you so much for being here, and a round of applause to Dr. Mukul Kapoor for the yearbook of anesthesiology. And I request Dr. Balabaskar sir and Dr. Harsur sir to present this and the shawl. On stage and to recognize Dr. Bajit Singh, the editor-in-chief, along with Dr. Mukul Kapoor for the yearbook of anesthesiology. Thank you so much, sir, for your contribution, and this has resulted in several people learning excellent insights into the lovely chapters you have produced. Thank you so much, sir. Jyotsna Goswami from the Tata Memorial Cancer Center, Calcutta, for an extraordinary contribution in authoring the book on onco-anesthesia. Thank you so much, madam, for bringing out such a voluminous, excellent book on onco-anesthesia. And may I request Dr. Harsur and Dr. Balabaskar to present this award. I think it's so good that both of you have contributed phenomenally to the journal, doing the honors to Jyotsna Goswami, madam. Thank you so much, madam, for your hard work and making onco-anesthesia visible in this country. Thank you, madam. Dr. Surajit Giri, a round of applause for saving so many lives in Assam. The snake man of Assam, he is called as for his phenomenal contribution in working in rural areas and saving innumerable lives from snake bites. An anesthesiologist who has led by example in the Northeast. Thank you so much, Surajit, for your phenomenal contribution to the society and for changing the lives and the power of preventing death due to snake bite. And not the least, the youngest of all, Dr. Arun for publishing 3 books this year. Arun, please come forward to receive the award. And this is phenomenal. Excellent contribution. He's a great writer, and we are very fortunate to have among us people who write books, and he has written 3 books this year and published. I mean, it's all available for sale. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Next, we move on to something very interesting. We have the president of the Singapore Society of Anesthesiologists with us today. May I request Dr. Sophia Chew, who also is the scientific chairman of the forthcoming World Congress of Anesthesia in Singapore in 2024, to share her thoughts on overcoming challenges and moving forward the Singapore experience. And after which we have a couple of sessions. The best one would be the last one we reserved from Jannicke, Melin, Olsen on how she moved to the top. And now I request Dr. Sophia Chew to share her thoughts on overcoming challenges and moving forward. Thank you for being with us and sharing your thoughts.
An introduction and a very good evening to everyone. And thank you, Dr. Balavenkat, for inviting me to visit your beautiful country and the opportunity to share in this conference. So allow me this evening to talk from the Singapore experience on overcoming challenges and moving forward. We all stand on the shoulders of giants, and this event on the 16th of October 1846 birthed the era of modern anesthesia. And upon the successful demonstration of ether anesthesia, the surgeon remarked, "Gentlemen, this is no humbug, and we cannot agree more." Now, news of that phenomenal feat soon reached the world. Typically, it would take about 40 days for mail to travel from the United States to Singapore, which was part of the Straits Settlement. But it took almost a year before ether finally reached our shores. And innovation was certainly alive in those days. So in this first case report, they used the patient's own hubble bubble and poured some ether and asked the patient to inhale as if enjoying the hookah. Surgery was a success, but note that in those days, informed consent was not taken. Following that, we have the 2 World Wars that also propelled the development of surgery and anesthesia. Post-war, Singapore was still a British colony. Ether and chloroform were commonly used, but associated with high mortality, and it was often heard, very sadly, that this one, chloroform, sure to die. The first major study on anesthesia-associated mortality was reported by Beecher et al., and in those days was as high as 1 in 1,500 cases. Into the 70s and 80s, anesthetic catastrophes continued to haunt the media headlines, and reasons for that continued to be equipment failure and recovery issues. And there were many initiatives that were undertaken, including the ASA performance standards, difficult area algorithm, and the Anesthesia Patient Safety Foundation was founded in 1985. In 1999, the Institute of Medicine published to Ares Human on building a safer healthcare system. Mandatory monitoring then became the norm, and it dramatically improved anesthetic mortality. In the 2000s, we are all familiar with the Safe Surgery campaign. Until this day, we are still using the surgical safety checklist. So how safe is anesthesia today? There are various reports reporting it between 0.06% to 8 per million, which puts it essentially that for an ASE1 patient undergoing a GA, as safe as taking an airplane from Singapore to India. But have we arrived at this holy grail of anesthesia safety? Annually, we do about 300 million surgeries across the world. We are now anesthetizing older patients with increasing comorbidities, and surgeries are becoming increasingly complicated. Anesthesia mortality still remains a concern, particularly in the elderly patient. In Singapore, we are not spared the silver tsunami. In a single center alone, there is a doubling in the number of patients who are elderly presenting for surgery over a 10-year period. Fortunately, deaths on tables are a rare occurrence today, but there is still an association between complications and deaths within 30 days after non-cardiac surgery. And this is from a multi-center study of patients aged 45 years and older presenting for surgery. And the top 3 complications are bleeding, myocardial injury after non-cardiac surgery, and sepsis. Now, as far back as a decade ago, we already know that complications occur after major surgery, but there is a variation in the mortality after this high-risk cancer surgery due to failure to rescue. And this can result from a combination of factors related to hospital resources, the attitudes of the healthcare staff, and the behaviors of the staff dealing with that seminal complication, so that it does not result in domino complications and poor patient outcomes. And this is in keeping with the recent Lancet report that post-operative deaths are the 3rd most common cause of death worldwide. In terms of anesthesia mortality, it is definitely lower than that due to surgical mortality. Currently, it is estimated it remains a 2% 30-day mortality for inpatient surgery. I'd like to stress again, we are not looking just reducing that complication, but how these complications are treated expeditiously. So the challenge remains that we are dealing with an increasingly elderly population. The chronological age has no correlation with the biological age, and we know that frailty is a specific health risk factor. In our institution alone, about 40% of our patients presenting for surgery are either frail or vulnerable. So moving forward, what we have done in the past is to set up the perioperative home concepts. We are all familiar with that. But I challenge all of us that beyond that, to protect the elderly patient, we need to understand the process of aging. How does aging affect anesthesia and vice versa? Apart from the frailty phenotype, the important other risk factors in this whole geriatric syndrome include immunosenescence and poor cognitive reserves. There is an expanding field of geroscience and the use of geroprotectors in increasing the resilience of the elderly population is perhaps an area we can add to our armamentarium to protect the elderly patient. Now, surgery is important and surgical expertise is of course important in preventing complications. But beyond that, do we understand the phenotype of responders? From the COVID pandemic, it's been clearly shown that patients with similar risk profile undergoing similar stress, be it surgery, be it an infectious bug, may respond differently. Do we understand the biology of the disease and response? Our onco-anesthesia colleagues have done that by trying to understand how the primary tumor load corresponds with the perioperative stress in activating all the myriad pathways, including the immune response, the genetic response, the surgical response. And how does anesthesia modulate all these responses and impact local and metastatic recurrence? Incidentally, the WFSA has decided that for 2023, the annual theme is anesthesia and cancer care. Now, this slide is just to remind us that there are multiple pathways that happen and are activated during surgery, and it's happening right under our noses. But how well do we understand these processes? Can we intervene even when the patient is under anesthesia to impact better outcomes? Last year, my group was awarded a National Academy of Medicine grant, and we hope to study the use of geroprotectors in reducing inflammatory syndrome in patients undergoing colorectal surgery. But beyond just surviving the initial surgery, of course, it matters to patients that they are alive rather than dead. But most patients are very concerned about the long-term outcomes and the quality of life. How can we, who are expert managers in the acute care model, help in the chronic care model for early detection, early management, so that we can prevent complications and readmissions of our patients? But far more important is that as our system in Singapore evolves, so must we. So this is the white paper on the Healthier SG initiative. We are very proud in Singapore of an excellent healthcare system that delivers top value per unit dollar. But that cannot continue as healthcare costs continues to escalate. This is a multi-pronged, multi-year initiative to improve the healthcare of our population. So the old must change for the new and better. In the old model, for far too long, many of us are concerned with sick care, which is acute-centric, episodic, often fragmented, volume-based, and the patient is a passive recipient of such care. In the new normal, we are actually looking at healthcare, which is chronic preventive care that is relationship-based. It needs to be integrated and is outcome and value-based with participation of an active patient. And the strategy would involve activating a network of family physicians, developing an individualized care plan for all our patients in partnership with the community. The Ministry of Health will put in the necessary manpower, IT, and data support. But note here, more importantly, the financing model will change. There will be capitation. So obviously, acute care will be affected. How do we, as anesthesiologists that are so involved and tied up in acute care, think of moving along with this new norm into population health in the community? Should we move out of our comfort zone of the OR right there in the community where there are a huge proportion of frail patients, which we have the expertise in dealing with? We should expand the scope of geriatric anesthesia so that we can contribute to improving health span in our population. Some of our anesthesiologist colleagues, just like some of you who have been honored today, have taken up that challenge to move the spotlight into the community. So this is an example of a dedicated adult home ventilation and respiratory support service, bringing care right into the homes of our patients. A brave new world requires brave new skills. So it's important to train anesthesiologists for the future. Now, in the past, the Academy of Medicine was responsible for specialty training, and the College of Anesthesiologists was under its umbrella, was established in 2004. Currently, the Master of the Academy of Medicine, together with the Director of the Graduate Medical School, are co-chairs of the Joint Committee on Specialist Training. They report to the Specialist Accreditation Board that oversees the accreditation of all specialists in Singapore. Since 2010, our residency training program has been modeled on the US system that is contextualized to our local system. So it's a 5-year program. They need to pass 3 examinations before they are conferred the Masters of Medicine and Anesthesia, after which they then apply to the SAB board to be certified as specialists. Many of our specialists then move into such specialty training. We are now able to train our own subspecialists because we have attained critical mass and volume. And moving forward, we need to continue to advance care and improve each subspecialty and, in fact, start new ones, particularly in population health. Now, this is the WFSA Global Anesthesia Workforce Survey. Once our specialists enter the workforce, we want to ensure they have good jobs and find value in what they do. The anesthesia per 100,000 population ratio in Singapore is 8.57. This is much lower than that of the USA. With an increasingly aging anesthesia provider population and a younger generation that are less willing to put in the long hours put in by their predecessors, we are all facing production pressures. What is more alarming is that slightly more than half of all anesthesiologists in this survey have made clinical judgment because of the excess workload. But even in a country like the US with a much higher anesthesia provider ratio, an increasing workload is associated with a 14% relative increase in composite risk-adjusted morbidity and mortality. So what can we do? Well, this is the Tectonics trial that looked at technology to improve productivity. So they use a centralized control to monitor all the ORs, develop machine learning algorithms, and try to apply evidence-based management. This is a closer look at the ACT. But I like to add, technology may be useful, but let's not forget the very long struggle for anesthesiologists to be recognized as specialists and as doctors. When I first started out in anesthesia, I did a survey, and only 20% of patients realized anesthesiologists are indeed doctors and specialists. So Dr. Daly, who practiced during the war, puts it this way: anesthetists are specialists, and the skill and experience of the anesthetist is, in many cases, far more important than the actual anesthetic agent, and may I add, that of any machine learning algorithm. Now, the fact that we are all experts in what we do, and it often makes it look really easy to give an anesthetic, does not mean that we can be replaced. So this is a sedative system that was designed to deliver for moderate sedation in GI endoscopies and meant to replace the role of the anesthesiologist and reduce costs. But we know the use of propofol is unregulated, and often endoscopists deeply sedate their patients under the guise of moderate sedation. So this machine, as per approved, neither please the endoscopist, the patient, and definitely not the anesthesiologist. An example of disruptive innovation that failed miserably. It brings me now to sedation and quickly moving on. Last year in Singapore, a doctor was jailed for causing the death of a patient that he deeply sedated and failed to recognize that the patient had suffered a respiratory arrest. As the past president of the College of Anesthesiologists, we were then tasked to come up with safe sedation guidelines, and we took the stand that propofol shall not be used in medical clinics unless administered by anesthesiologists. We stressed training, and in response, last year, our colleagues published this paper stating that propofol can be safely given by non-anesthesiologists with the right training. Of course, we agree. The training is important, but it must be of that rigor that they can handle the rescue of patients from deep sedation and general anesthesia. And moreover, the High Court judgment based the judgment largely on the manufacturer's advisory rather than the prevailing guidelines. So all I can advise my colleagues is that the unsanctioned use of propofol shall be at their own peril. And I'm so glad to see many of my esteemed colleagues here involved in research, and we have taken a collaborative approach, and we have done many studies with our local partners as well as the region, not only in post-operative delirium, these are our partners, but also in hypothermia. And I would like to invite all of you to join us in looking at those questions that are of importance in our region. Now, good clinical work and research needs top dollars, and healthcare costs are escalating, compounded by overconsumption. Into the fray enters the third-party funders and insurers. So a fee benchmark advisory committee was set up to set the appropriate fees and to be part of informed decisions by all stakeholders. In private practice, anesthesiologists work on a fee-for-service model, and for the longest time, the anesthetist fee is pegged at a proportion of the surgical fee, which is based on surgical complexity. So if a case is surgically simple but has high anesthetic risk, it will be hard to find an anesthetic provider. So the committee approached us. I was the president at that time. We held extensive consultations with all stakeholders, and we are very glad that after many decades, we in Singapore, in the private practice, have finally attained autonomy over our own fees. And this is now based on time and complexity, both surgical and anesthesia. We are also facing an increasingly litigious society that is also compounded by high patient expectations, the ease of information and misinformation on social media. So in recent years, there have been some changes in legislation, and I just touched on finally the informed consent. These changes are now provided for in the Civil Law Amendment Bill 2020, so it becomes a statutory obligation and a common law one to take informed consent. So apart from the duty of care that is based on the Bolam-Bolito principle, we now take a patient-centric approach with the modified Montgomery principle. Now, while the paradigm of the patient-doctor relationship evolves, it behoves all of us to uphold the sanctity of the patient-doctor relationship, and I will urge all of us to first think of our patients as fellow human beings, then we treat them as their doctors, and finally, with the skills and knowledge and pride in what we do, trusting in ourselves and having faith in our patients, we deliver the best possible anesthetic care. So, esteemed colleagues, together we can overcome the challenges and build a better tomorrow for our specialty. And together we shall gather in Singapore next year for the 18th World Congress of Anesthesiologists, happening from the 3rd to the 7th of March in sunny Singapore. We can't wait to welcome all of you. Thank you for your kind attention. Nandri.
So before you and the dinner, there are just a couple of things. It's very important that you listen to Dr. Jannicke, who rose to the top. But before that, if India is to grow and progress, we have a very crisp, short panel discussion for which may I invite the President and the Vice President of Indian Society of Anesthesiologists, Dr. Bhimeshwar and Dr. Mahesh Sinha, and the 4 leaders of the 4 leading companies in India who contribute to the progress of anesthesia. May I request the President, the National President of Neon Laboratories, Dr. A.K. Gupta, the founder and CEO of Helmia, Mr. Yash Kaul, Fujifilm Sonosite, the national manager, Mr. Nitin Gupta, and Naveen Hans from the B-Braun in the top echelon. I'll start with Dr. Bhimeshwar. Sir, India wants to grow and progress. At the first, I would like to congratulate you for taking over the mantle as the president of this august body. It is making rapid strides in several fronts. What is your vision and strategy to enhance the clinician-industry synergy that would pave the way for progress for this nation?
Good evening, all of you. First of all, let me thank Dr. Balavenkat for inviting me here to be part of Garc. I have been a regular visitor for Garc ever since its inception in maybe 2015-16. And secondly, I would like to thank each and every one of you here for reposing your faith in me in electing me as the President of the Indian Society of Anesthesiologists. Yes, Dr. Bala has chosen a wonderful topic of clinician-industry relationship and how we can take it forward. First of all, let me confess that I do not have any conflict of interest with any of the industry partners sitting with me here. And how we go about the clinician and the industry. What I would like to say here is, firstly, we have to have a symbiotic relationship between both the clinician as well as the industry, and then have a mutual respect to each other, because both go hand in hand, whatever we do. And I myself have been doing a lot of studies for most of the companies who have approached me, and my last study was between the last Garc and this Garc, where drug has been entered, and we had done certain studies and we have come out with certain drawbacks to the drug, and they have been positively taken and corrections have been made, and this has gone on ever since I was so what I'd like to say here is that we should have a mutual respect to each other, and then on the going ahead and start supporting the industry. There's nothing wrong in it. We need to support the industry. We need their help, and at the same time, we also have to be taking whatever our suggestions as far as clinical things are concerned. Like you come out with, we say that a particular drug, the effect has been only for a particular time and all, and they come out with corrections to all those things. That is what we do, and we need to keep continuing the same thing. Thank you so much, Bala.
Thank you so much, sir, and for that insights. And I would like to ask the Vice President of ISA, sir, Make in India is the current mantra, and I've seen you grow in spite of being in private practice, taking a lot of administrative responsibilities. How do you think in this position that fraternity of anesthesia and as clinicians, we need to go forward to make this Make in India concept happen according to your thoughts?
As everybody knows, India has grown because of the lot of involvement of the private sector in all the horizons, including the medicine. Now we are, when we started practice, we have very much difficulties of getting drug supply, regular supply. There is a breaks of supply, and it was very difficult to manage. But our companies came about that time, specifically making anesthesia products and equipments that gradually have, now the young generation will not believe that what was the problems at that time. So Make in India and growth and plus research is very much required, and this can be done with the combination of the both sides of the coins, because they cannot exist in alone. We need industry needs the profession. So, but one gray area is there which should be sorted out, not only in our country, but it is international issue. the ethical and moral issue which our profession goes off in all the aspects. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. When we come to this, I would like to congratulate Neon Laboratories Limited. Sir, I think one of the best things that this country could offer was to make sure that every nook and corner gets every anesthesia product which is of great standard. And I think it would have been a challenge for you. What is that you did to make sure that every small town or the taluk got the right drug? So what were your mantra for that?
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Balavenkat, for providing this wonderful opportunity to throw some light on the availability of medicines, especially anesthesia medicines. Around 30 years back, we found there are only a couple of multinational companies are working in our country, and clinicians are finding it difficult to get the anesthesia medicine on time. They have to go to the office of those multinational companies, book the order, then we'll get the medicine next day. I mean, that's unbelievable, but it was happening around 35 years back. After realizing this, our organization found that we should make quality medicine. So, few steps we have taken to ensure that our medicines are available in larger part of the country. Number one, we keep on increasing our stock inventory, production capacity. Only then we can, reach to the various part of the country. As such, India is such a big country, we all know, size-wise as well as population-wise, 140 crore people approximately, make many Australia in our one country itself. So the first thing, we increase our production every year. And the second thing is that we increase our team of managers and representatives so that they look after the availability part of the products. And the third is to improve the supply chain, especially the distribution network and stockist network, because finally they are the people who deliver the goods to the various hospital and pharmacies. So these three steps, step by step, we have taken, and we have ensured that the cold chain products, especially who require the cold chain packaging, which is quite difficult and expensive also, should reach in all part of the country. As such, even now, despite of good availability of our products in all nook and corner of the India, still we feel that we have to go a long way, really a long way, and it will take few more years to say confidently that 100% we are available in our every part of the country. So we should be honest in that, and the endeavor and the trying and the efforts are going in that very direction.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
And I think it's very important to provide safe anesthesia to get the right drugs at the right time in the right place. And thank you so much for doing this. Yash, I'm very, very happy that you are the founder and architect of the first company, Helmier, in India, and with your vision to have a multinational company with an Indian headquarters. I think it's a bold move, and can you elaborate on your vision?
So, thanks, Dr. Balavenkat, for inviting me to this session. Good evening, everybody. So, the journey has been fraught with challenges, and the three main challenges which come to my mind are revolving around the mindset. So, three different kinds of mindsets. One is the mindset, and I'm generalizing, there are some exceptions, but the general mindset around the quality and manufacturing processes in India, because it's much more complex than one imagines, about the raw material, about the process. It's basically about the mindset, how you think about quality. So we had to do a lot to make sure that the products that we offer you are at par with what the multinationals are offering, the products which are imported. So there have been ups and downs, but I think we have reached there. We have, as a part of the solution, we've added our own quality inspectors in our manufacturing sites. We tied up with companies which have US FDA approved manufacturing sites in India, and also tied up with the SGS, which is one of the world's top quality assurance companies who validate every batch of certain products which come to a warehouse before they reach to you and your patients. So that's one mindset which we're trying to fight back and make sure that healthcare is at top of things in terms of quality. The second mindset, and that's where I need the help from everybody in this room, is around the mindset of customers that if there's a product coming from an Indian company, it has to be sold at a lower price. Even if the quality that we offer is similar or better than multinationals, even if it's better than a product coming outside of our borders, it has to be sold at a lower price. Even if the product is differentiated. In a lot of our products, we try to differentiate. We listen to you, what you want the products to be differentiated. In spite of that, the mindset that the product has to be at a lower price. Now, do we have a solution for that? Maybe not, but we have a decision. And the decision is that we are going to continue with the high quality process. And the products will be at a fair price, at a premium price, so that your patients get the best. By adding a few additional quality steps, parameters, processes, each of our product becomes anywhere between 30 to 60% more expensive than the same product made in the same manufacturing site. But it's a decision we make that we will continue to focus on quality so that your patients get the best product. And it may slow us down. It may impact our revenues, but we will not compromise on quality. The third mindset, and I think that's the question for larger audience and larger country, is are we really geared up to become the manufacturing hub for medical devices in India? We have done it in pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals, India is considered as the pharmacy of the world. Can we do the same for medical devices? That's the question. I was in China last week. We spent 8 days. I and my colleague Raghu, who's staying back. We visited 10 cities, visited some 12 manufacturers, and let me say that their thought process starts at the point where our thought process stops. I mean, this way they look at scale is very different. Are we ready for it? In India, we have manufacturers who sets up manufacturing plants thinking, can I cater to 10%, 15%, 20%, 30% of India's demand? The manufacturers there think, can I put up a plant which can take care of 50% of manufacturing capacity of the whole world? I think that's the mindset change that this country needs. And without getting into geopolitics, the whole world is right now looking at the alternate to production sites in China. And can we be the country for them? I think we can. I think we definitely can. But it does provide challenges around funding, investments, government policies, but I think we'll get there. And as Helmer, I think the first step is making it big in India and then go abroad. I will not take a long time, but I also wanted to say this, Dr. Balavenkat. One of the biggest challenges, and it may sound very weird, is actually the expectations of everybody of you in the room and around the country. I think the expectations set in Helmer that we will be the game-changing medical device company, anesthesia and critical care, and we will do things differently, and we will lead the medical device industry, Indian medical device industry, to a stage where it deserves. I think that puts a lot of pressure on us, but the solution on that is the question itself. I think your expectations from us will motivate us to keep on doing better and giving the best quality products. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, and wishing you all the best. And I'm sure that we look forward to having a multinational company with Indian headquarters. Thank you so much. And to Mr. Nitin Gupta, sir. So what is, as a company, I think India needs ultrasound everywhere and ultrasound education and training everywhere. I think I would wanted to know your insights into what is that you are trying to do as a company to make this reach every single anesthesiologist.
Thank you. First of all, thanks, Dr. Balavenkat sir, and for us inviting. And this kind of discussion makes a lot of difference, where trade and the clinician who are actually partner speaks, and we share the concern. So I was just reading the oath which you shared, and it was very encouraging. And I have been attending your conferences where this is one unique differentiator I saw. Also, I saw the word skill. So probably, I was thinking how, our organization and clinicians put together, develop the skills, and Solo side being, pioneer in point of care ultrasound. So we have been, fortunate enough to associate with this fraternity, and we do look roughly around 180 programs in a year. Every week, there are almost 3 programs which we conduct in terms of skill development of clinicians by providing our equipment. And in our 15 year of journey, we would have touched almost 1 lakh clinician. And with this, I think we have a very ambitious aim to reach somewhere around 3 lakhs clinician by 2030. So that's the, we want to set and beat our own record in terms of skill development, in terms of adoption of point of care ultrasound in India. As far as challenges are concerned, one is, I think we all know, is the PNDT. So let's not talk much on that because it's a bureaucratic issue, it's a law issue. So I don't think we can, one fine day can solve it. So I think another is, reach, where we are working a lot in terms of technology, and we have also used digital channel and to reach the kind of conducting master classes and conducting shows. So our commitment to fraternity in terms of providing the equipment, providing the various training platforms remains there. And second is, I think digital is there in just to share in our innovations also. Our latest equipment has something called scan along, where clinician can do the procedure. If there is a little bit confusion, you can hold the procedure and probably see the video on the equipment itself. And you can compare, and maybe any doubt you can remove then and there, and then you can start the procedure. So that's a kind of commitment overall including our R&D have in terms of education. Those who know Sono side all know that education is one of our brand pillar, and we see the future very bright, and we have very ambitious plan. And with the support of clinicians, I think we would be able to increase the adoption of point of care ultrasound. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. And I think that's a very interesting news for us. And this will have many more repercussions in making this technology being used. Thank you so much for that. And the last question for this panel discussion goes to Naveen Hansa. How last mile medical treatment would be possible, and what are BBRON's strategy to provide access to good quality treatment?
Thanks, Dr. Bala, for giving this opportunity. I would like to paint the answer with a broader brush. I think the whole construct of last mile medical treatment has 4 pillars on which it has to stand. The first pillar is infrastructure. If you see any developed country, medical treatment is a fallout, or perhaps the growth, economical growth is a fallout of infrastructure. And if you see in last 5 years, that's where the government is perhaps investing heavily. We have increased in India our infrastructure spent by almost, this year it's 3% of the GDP, which is pretty good. The second is we need doctors. If you see the number of MBBS seats in the country, they have increased, perhaps to ensure that in every nook and corner we have educated doctors who can really provide quality treatment to the patients. With the infrastructure development, doctors like you all sitting in this room can reach to 10 more markets and still come back and do your own work. I think that's the second construct of it. The third construct is where perhaps we play a smaller role, and that's where the pharma industry understands that as the medical treatment goes to every nook and corner, there would be immense need of training. And that's where we hold hands with the entire clinician faculty. We as BBRON participate in almost 17 therapy areas apart from pure anesthesia. And in all these therapy areas, we provide quality training. We have our own nursing staff, and we do more than 2,000 events of training. We train more than 70,000 nurses every year. And that's another critical part where we play a role. Now, with every stretch of imagination, manpower will always be a constraint, and that's where as BBRON, we are now adding another element to it, which is the distribution partners. And we are telling that you own up 3 markets, and we go with you and we provide training. We also use doctors like all of you guys sitting out here to provide a digital access, and that's where India is evolving. Perhaps today, every nook and corner, you have more mobiles than we have even in bigger cities. So
we can do a lot of digital training to these doctors everywhere and nurses everywhere. So that's how, as an organization, we are growing. And as an organization, we have also invested more than 10,000 crores in India to make in India. We have 3 plants in India. And we believe that MNCs today are getting more humbled in terms of understanding the country needs. And the only difference is we make in India, but we make for the world. Because we feel that the quality of life of a patient in US is as important as the quality of life of a patient sitting in Balia or Lehria-Sarai. So, we feel that he should get the same quality medicine as you get in US, Singapore, and any developed country. So that's it from my end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And this is, I thought, a very important component as we grow together. The synergy has to be very good. And I extremely appreciate your insights and values. And we move forward with close collaboration. And sincere thanks for being a part of this meeting and for taking your time out and coming from various places in spite of this being March and year end for each one of you. Sincere thanks and thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, sir. So now may I call upon the past president of the World Federation of Society of Anesthesiologists, Dr. Jannicke, who flew in only at 2:45. And here is she, the first of many she has accomplished towards the top, a personal journey. Thank you so much, Dr. Jannicke, for being with us.
And thank you very much to you. And I cannot tell you how much I admire your energy, your positiveness, and all that you have done to make this meeting happen. India, you are so fortunate to have a man of this caliber among your colleagues. So it's just very special the way you encourage all of us. And I would also say thank to all of you who are still in the audience, because I know it's late, I know you're hungry, I know that many of your peers are out there enjoying their dinner, but thank you for listening to me. And then I must say also that it's kind of interesting that it was unexpected to me that Arun, General Arun, had the whole hall standing up and telling me that my country is beautiful, because his last slide was from my country. So I invite you all to come and hike with me to that spot which he showed to you. But now I'm going to share with you how I became the president of the World Federation and my journey and what I have learned along the way. These are my conflicts of interest. I mean, the only place that pay me money is my hospital, and then I have all those different positions, like many of you in the audience have. But now, what happened to this little girl? How did she, several years later, stay in the World Health Assembly giving recommendations to the health ministers in the world on how they should promote anesthesiology, that we cannot provide good medical care without anesthesiologists? Well, you can see here, this is me. I don't look very happy, do I? It's my mother who drew that picture of me when I was 5 years old. And it's true, I was not very happy, because when I was at the age of 3.5, I had a brother who was born with esophageal atresia. And my mother knew at that time that unless she was with him all the time in the hospital, he would not make it. And what could she do? My father had to work, and I had my sister who was 2. And I said, "Don't worry, mother, I'll take care of my sister." So there was nothing else she could do, and she stayed with so I was babysitter of my sister, which was very unusual in Norway at that time for a child of 3.5. Then the doctors didn't listen to my mother, because the surgeon said that he had a tube into his stomach, and they said this must not be removed. And my mother told that when he was going into the operating theater that this tube must not be removed. they didn't listen to her, difficult mothers. And they put it back into the peritoneal cavity, and my brother had caught peritonitis and died. And after that, my childhood was over. I started, I stopped playing, and I wanted to become a nurse. And then my mother said, yeah, but you can be a doctor. No, I'm a girl, girls become nurses, not doctors. Yes, but there's a psychiatrist down the street, she's female. And since then, at the age of 4, my path in life was set. I was going to be a doctor. And this was my plan at this time. This is with my little sister. And here I start school. And it's very hard to get into medical school in Norway, but here is after high school when I graduated and I entered medical school. And at that time, we were only 25% females going to medical school. And there I learned something there, because some of my fellow female students, they pushed the boys forward. When we were going around, they said, well, we go after you and we will wait. And for some strange reasons, the boys learned more than the girls, and then they felt discriminated upon. And I said, yes, but we had to go in the rounds as well. So that was something for me. And then by coincidence, I also became the first female physician in Norway to complete military services. It's compulsory for men, it was, and it was not compulsory for females. So I went to officer school with 60 men, and I was the only female. And the reason was that I was, by more or less coincidence, I was going to serve in Lebanon for United Nations peacekeeping forces. And they told me, yeah, by the way, you have to go through officers training. What? You didn't say that? Yeah, don't worry, it will be fine. I was placed on the first row, and they said, look at her, all boys, look at her, she's going to the war, so you have to make sure that she learns everything. And I wasn't a better student than any of those, but I was the only one going to war then for peacekeeping forces, because I thought at that time, if somebody attacks Norway, of course I will defend my country being in green or in white. But I went down here, and I felt I was treated kind of well in the military. There are many stories about sexual harassment and so, even in my country, of females going into the army. But I think every soldier knows that they need medical services. So even if I was a major before the age of 13 and head of the medical services there, they knew that they needed me and my knowledge to be in a war zone and to provide safe health care. And after that, we were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, the United Nations peacekeeping forces, just after I got home, and that was a big thing for us. But what I realized, in a war zone, people are going through very difficult experiences. And when they go home, many of those ex-soldiers, the veterans, they got PTSD from all what they had, and there was no system to take care of veterans that have gone through different times. So I was the first in Norway to say that we are having, this is angst, this anxiety and stress after Lebanon, and that we were now having a new generation of wounded, mentally wounded after World War II. And it was not very popular when I made that course, because we were so proud of our boys. No, we needed to recruit more. It was not well said to say that some of them might have problems when they had almost been killed and so on. So for 10 years, I was with retired colonels and generals as the only female in the UN Veterans Organization in Norway and internationally. Here we are in France, going to the mayor in Lyon to talk about the things. So there are many aspects of that. But I decided after Lebanon, I had seen the light. Anesthesiology, the best specialty there is in this world. And for many years, I was the only female anesthesiologist in first the university hospital and then also in the hospital where I'm working now. And I just love being with the men, as you can see. They are taking good care of me. That does not mean that I was also subject to some kind of things that when we were going rounds in the ICU, the surgeons would address the junior male doctors or the male nurses and just ignore me. But I learned something I just learned by myself, but also there are some techniques which you can use, and we have the concept of suppression techniques. And these are valid in so many different settings. I will go into some more detail, to be made invisible, ridiculing, withholding information. Then you have the damned if you do and damned if you don't. I'll talk about that. Blame and putting to shame, force or objectifying. Well, making invisible. It's not so easy to make me invisible, but I had those things. But you can get a long way with just some humor when the surgeons don't talk to you. You can point them out to them in a way that they feel not very proud of themselves. You should, if you are in that situation, it's smart to create alliances because probably you are not the only person in the room that are being overviewed or something. And you might have some friends that can make sure that people address you when they should. And if they're not talking to you or if they make you invisible, please can you explain why you are not listening to me when I raise my hand? Why I'm not allowed to talk? I mean, be polite, but be very clear about what's happening in the room. And we have heard all of that ridiculing and shaming, that people are making jokes on your behalf and you feel very stupid and want to disappear under the floor or something. If that happens, you should ask, so what did you mean by that question? Why are you saying that to me? And do not let the joke pass without commenting it or question them. Just don't take it and do not laugh. Do not laugh with everybody else when the people are making fun of you for no reason. And again, alliances you can make. Of course, I'm very much aware that when I talk about this, I'm talking about from a Norwegian setting, and I'm aware that culture varies different places, but there are some similarities. For instance, withholding information. This is very typical for female versus men then. Maybe the men goes to a bar after work, the women go home to their families, or they go to a bar and they have jokes, or they go golfing. Maybe you are not very interested in golf. And then, of course, they talk about work. I also talk about work when I'm with colleagues. And I'm sure we will talk about work at dinner in a few minutes. But we should not make decisions. And then you should talk to them. Why are you doing this? One by one. And explain and also demand a transparent decision process. But there is no decision taken on the golf course or in the bar. This is for offices. And then this very typical thing, which I'm sure all of us in the room have felt. We are working, things are running late, and we know we should be somewhere else, be it with our children, being in another meeting or at home or whatever. And then you feel you have to stay at work. And you feel bad whatever you are doing. But then it should be, you should in advance consider and decide what is important to you now. What are your priorities? And make those priorities clear to all others. And then it's not so easy to attack you later. Then if you feel that you are blamed, you are shamed and so on, try and figure out what's happening in the room now. Why do I feel as I'm feeling? Is it a social norm? Is it an expression of a gender system? Or is it because I actually have behaved in a stupid way? Often it's not. And then we have this typical thing, you'll understand this in a different way when you just get a little older. What kind of argument is that? I mean, we should be able to argue or discuss with others as equal. We are all human beings. We are all at an equal level. Some of us have more experience. Others maybe have more guts to proceed. We can all contribute. And then this is the past president of the Norwegian Surgical Society. He said that he finds actually that female surgeons are better than men. But they need different guidance, because female surgeons, just what I mentioned when I was at medical school, the girls are a little more careful. Can I do this? Maybe. I mean, maybe you are better than me. Maybe you can do it. So, and we will not apply for a job unless we are sure that we will get it or we're qualified. While the men, they would say, okay, I give it a chance. And he said he has more often to try to restrict the men and try to calm them down. They are too pushy, while the girls you need to push them a little bit. Very interesting point, I think. I also learned a lot when I was working for an American company for 10 years called Medair, dealing with in-flight medical emergencies. So whenever is there a doctor on board in the air, they patch down to a center in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was with them, and I am raised in, well, don't stick out, you should not be better than the rest, and who do you think you are, and so. In the United States, they were much just, I can do it, look at me. And so I learned not to be so shy about my attitudes or what I can contribute, which has been very helpful for me. And here we are with the team, and that's the younger brother of the King of Jordan. We were having lunch at that time. And I learned that I was once on a flight with Dalai Lama. He was in a seat row in front of me. I was, after on call, I was going to Frankfurt from Oslo, and Dalai Lama was there with his team. And by coincidence, I was reading his autobiography. And only as I stepped out of the aircraft, I asked myself, why didn't I ask him to have a signature? I could ask one of his, people to give it. By coincidence, I would have a book with his signature. And I decided this is never going to happen again. So here I'm on the way back from Rwanda. We had a meeting with the anesthesiologists in Rwanda on surgical plans. And I came home, and this is Denis Mukwege, who was going to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for what he has done with the females in Congo, the gynecologists working with mutilated and violated women in Congo. So I decided, okay, I'll go and speak to him and his wife about the importance of anesthesiology and anesthesiologists. So maybe we can work together, and he can help us promote the cause for anesthesiologists. And I take that away. And that's just what I have learned by working outside and see how many females, how they have to work to improve. This is in Pakistan. We were working together, again, with a lot of support from the men. And here, the reason why I'm showing you this is that this person, Jan Egeland, we were 20 years ago, the Norwegian Red Cross needed a new Secretary General, and there were 100 applicants. 6 of them were called for an interview. One of them was Jan Egeland, another was me. He got it. And at that time, I thought, what's wrong? We are the same age. He's not brighter than me. What does he have which I don't have? Why did he get the job? I'm qualified. He's very politically active, and so I was not in that sense. And he went on to become the vice Secretary General of United Nations, I went back to the hospital to work clinically. So I thought, what happened here? So at that time, I felt I was a failure. But I went back to the hospital. I worked for anesthesiology. Here we are teaching the public about the anesthesiologists, which I have seen that you do very nicely in India when you train lay persons in CPR. This is also something we are going to do for Singapore, which will be very interested. And I would say that you here in India, you are key to make that a success. So I hope to speak to you more about that later. Then I became the first female president of the European Board of Anesthesiology, which was very nice. For 2 periods, I was actually the only female elected member of the WFSA board. Here you see me, there are other ladies there, they are working in the secretariat. You will see some familiar faces. Here are some more. And here is Daniela, who's now the current secretary. She was then on the board, but from the council. So I was the only female until I stepped down, which had been elected. So we have some work to do here. This is, wow, I take it. And I'm getting closer to the stop, but I'm showing you some more photos. And this is from Patient Safety Movement Foundation. And I sent that to my family. And then, to my surprise, one of my nieces told me, Jannicke, look at you. You are there with all those gray-haired old men. And there you are, all colors and so and so. Wow, what a role model, she said. And then I thought, role model? Yes, maybe. And that has gone with me. And then this, I just have to tell you this because this is what the nurses in ICU put up on the wall when I had been elected the president in Hong Kong. I felt a little ashamed when I got back because I was not sure what my colleagues would say when I got elected, but they had put that on the wall, and that was very nice of them. But to be a role model, this is also what I got from one of the female orthopedic surgeons. Remember the amazing power you have within you. And what she said also to me, a role model. And this is some of the things I would like to leave you with. And it's part of what General Arun said also. I mean, we are role models for others. We can help others, we can inspire others, and so all we do, even if you have a big position or a low position in the hierarchy, we are responsible for our own behavior and how we are role models. And that is, again, later we were here working for Eastern Mediterranean and African countries to have national surgical and obstetric anesthesia plans. And then I thought after that, maybe it's not about being in the TV all the time and newspapers and so. Maybe what we can do in organizations like the WFSA, trying to improve the access to anesthesia all over the world, maybe that's just as, or if not more important to what this guy did. So I didn't do so bad after all. So I have not always taken the safe tracks for ladies and kids. But I have been very fortunate being raised in a country, Norway, which is number 3 on the Global Gender Gap Index in 2022. So, I mean, so many things are okay for me. I hate to inform you that India is number 135 on the global list, and you have been bypassed now by Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal. So you have work to do, all of you, all of us here in this room also. And at the current pace, when are regions likely to close the gap? Well, I'm from Europe, only 60 years. But here in South Asia, it's 197 years, unless you speed up the process. Here are medical students from Norway. They are now up to 70 to 80%, and I think there should be a quotation because we should have a balance. We should be 50-50. The population is 50-50, so that's what we should be too. So here I am swimming with the sharks. The nurse is a nurse shark, but I have got so much support and help from the nurses, work with them, work with all of each other. And thank you very much for your attention. And I'm looking forward to the next couple of days. I love being in India with you. And thank you again for inviting me. It's such a privilege.
Thank you so much, Jannicke. It was lovely to hear to you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Jannicke. You showed how you can raise to the top, and it was brilliant. Thank you so much for the lot of fuss that you had. And I think this is an impetus, and it gives inspiration for several young women sitting here to accomplish what you have done. To finally end up the day, before you go for dinner, I request Dr. Sudhakar Kopatsa to sum up the contents of the Leadership Summit, the take-home messages that we have, and what is that we need to do for this nation to move forward. And after which I would request you to join us for the South Indian dinner there. And tomorrow morning, the conference starts at 8 o'clock. But at 7:30, we have two of our anesthesiologists perform divine prayer songs with accompaniments. So based upon your energy, I would look forward to seeing you at 7:30. And now to Dr. Sudhakar Kopatsa.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, once again. Nothing great was ever achieved without energy and enthusiasm, which has been even now flowing in this hall. The sheer presence and scintillating talks by General Arun, what we heard, and just now Dr. Jannicke, and before that, Dr. Sophia Chew, they were no less than TED Talks. This evening, your sheer presence of industry tycoons, the team of our anesthesia fraternity scholars, and most importantly, the young minds, the blood and budding anesthesiologist presence has indeed made this evening stunningly electrifying and exhilarating. Everyone assembled here has gone a very long, grueling workshop day. GANGA, when you say it, resonates for source of life and vitality. GANGA Anesthesia Refresher Course, which began in 2015, indeed has turned and evolved into a knowledge fountainhead. It won't be exaggeration if I say GANGA has turned itself into a mecca of knowledge, skill, and education. Anesthesia Leadership Summit, which was launched the same year in 2015, has evolved itself into most strikingly, uniquely incorporated event into Garc, where there is a very natural confluence between anesthesia scholars, industry tycoons, and the young budding anesthesiologists. This summit, all the more, has made very special just by presence of very young, fresh, budding anesthesiologists, added a new dimension to this evening's summit force. We did witness amazingly exciting, energizing talk by Lieutenant General Arun. Still in the hall, it is being palpable, energy still flowing within us. Indeed, we have been grateful to have such an extraordinary talk. It was also a graceful spectacle to see our supreme scholars being awarded for their very distinguished services. The panel discussion with ISS Supremos and industrial captains, moderated by Dr. Balavenkat, showcased the critical relevance of our mutual partnership. Quickly, I wish to say, like how Dr. Jannicke and Dr. Sophia, all of us like to be aspiring to be on the top. All of us like to move forward. Education and knowledge perhaps are the most powerful weapons we have to be there and change the world the way we want. And there also seems to be some kind of constant quest amongst scientists. Are leaders born or made? If we believe the first, none of us would be here. So leaders are not born, they are made. And they are made like any one of us through simple hard work all along. The final message through all the leaders, what we have, what I call from G23 Leadership Summit is, let us all be perioperative physicians. As a perioperative physician, nurture that leader in you with humility and honesty, set new standards with patience and perseverance, bury your mediocrity, throw away that, and aim for perfection. Absolute perfection may not be attainable, but if you chase perfection, sure you catch excellence. And sure way to the top, sure way to be forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. And I really thank each one of you for staying back for a long time. And always it's an endeavor to finish fast, but always we have such rich resources, you don't want that to go as a waste. So thank you so much. And as I said, we start the scientific session at 8. Registrations would start at 7, and 7:30 we have the divine music. But tomorrow is the day we are closing at 2 o'clock, have lunch and go to the Isha Yoga Center. Considering the weather, it all will be AC coaches. And the only thing I would request is come in a comfortable dress. And also, I don't think you need to carry the valuables. And we have gotten information that there is a possibility that we may have Sadhguru speak to us tomorrow. So we are looking at it, and I hope it happens. And thank you so much for all of you for having stayed back this long, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you so much, and good night. Thanks.
Yeah.